3 on a Match. A reverse harem bad boy romance. Island of Love, Book 8. By Michelle Love. Blurb.
Sparks fly on a remote Caribbean island when 3 desperate ex-convicts rope lonely trauma nurse Alana into helping save one of their lives. Plucked from her cruise in the middle of the night, she becomes a woman on a mission. But it's hard to keep her mind on business with so many hunks around. All 3 men want her and they're willing to share. Offered a month of relaxation and intimacy, Alana cannot resist. But as everyone's feelings deepen, an unexpected surprise complicates matters. Alana is pregnant. When jealousy and violence rear their heads on the island, will their new love last?
Chapter 1. Alana.
Come on, sweetheart, the balding man with a conspicuous tan line around his left ring finger said with an oily smile. Neither one of us is young anymore, so it's not like you have your pick of men on this cruise. The insult stings. I lower my magazine and lift an eyebrow, fixing him with what the rest of the girls at work call my best annoyed nurse stare. I came out here to the deck to get a little bit of sun and relax, and I'm 2 Long Island iced teas into a minor drinking binge. This randy jerk is in my sun and trying to nag me into sleeping with him, and I don't feel like being diplomatic. I've seen his type many times before. Short, chubby, his graying comb-over about as concealing as a few streaks of paint across his skull, and above all, entitled. He stares at me with his greedy little eyes as if he's in line for People's Most Attractive Man of the Year title, and I'm some naive, desperate plain Jane. In reality, he's as bland and common as white bread. And I'm not. I'm a 5'8" stacked brown-eyed redhead, and I'm currently rocking a purple neoprene tankini. Judo, yoga, and swimming have resulted in a great body, even if there's currently no one in my life to show it off to. I've got a killer smile too, not that this guy's ever going to see it. My reasons for being alone have nothing to do with being old or unattractive. I'm just picky. My libido is a finicky thing, as flighty as a writer's muse, and so far on this damn singles cruise nobody has managed to catch my interest. But this jerk doesn't need to know any of that. I am 27. At least half your age, I'd wager, I say with ice in my tone. By the looks of it, you're also married and looking for someone to cheat with. You don't want to know my opinion on cheaters, so it's best you walk away now before I decide to enlighten you. He pales, jaw-dropping. Apparently, he thought leaving his ring at home was a foolproof plan. He looks slowly down at the pale stripe on his ring finger, and then goes red. Why, you little cunt. I'm up and in his face in a split second. I spend 5 to 6 days a week every week, taking orders from doctors with my hands in people's orifices, and sometimes their bleeding wounds. I have faced down gangbangers, violent psychotics, and people with temporary superpowers thanks to bath salts. I'm no wimp. The last thing I'm going to do is let some fat old man bent on cheating on his wife mess up my vacation. This cruise was already disappointing enough without his help. What was that? I growl, staring him right in his puffy face. Keep throwing a tantrum because a woman told you no. See what happens. I dare you. He seems to shrink a few sizes, going pale again. He opens his mouth, but I lift a single, imperious finger, cutting him off. Go back to your wife before you get hurt. Not exactly a threat, but not exactly empty words either. He stares a moment more, his mouth working as if to form a sentence, but he seems to sense something in me that he doesn't want to mess with. I stare back implacably. After a few moments, he turns and slinks away. Redheads are all crazy, he mumbles to himself, and I laugh sharply after him. Standing there alone once again, my heart sinks as I look around. Rosa, my supervising nurse and best friend, has been recommending these singles cruises to me for years. I've always wanted to try a cruise, and the whole perpetually single life has been getting to me lately, so it seemed like a good idea. At the time. Holy crap, What did I ever do to deserve this? I grumble, flopping back down into my lounge chair and slathering on more sunblock. I can't be out here too long. The Caribbean sun is brutal, especially on my fair skin, the plight of a redhead. Besides, I've learned the hard way that hanging out anywhere in a bikini for a prolonged amount of time gets me the wrong kind of attention. I tick off a mental list of the men I've met on this cruise in only the day and a half since it left port in Miami. Besides married Max, there was over-curious George, excited for everyone Henry, and argumentative Rupert. I had also met perpetually drunk Mike, creepy Charlie, creepy Edgar, Dom wannabe David, stud Cody, cute gay Matt, adorable gay Bob, hunky gay Devin. I'm really hoping they can find each other among all these bad-mannered straight guys, and red flags Rory. 0 for 13. And the only attractive, friendly ones were gay. Am I broken or something? Or am I just perpetually dealing with a crappy selection? But Rosa keeps raving about how much fun she has on these cruises, which leaves me feeling like it must be me. Am I frigid? Am I cursed? Enough with the self-pity. I decide to hit the pool to work off my frustration, and then take a nap before dinner. Tomorrow, I'll hang out on a different section of the ship and see if the people over there are better. Someone on this crazy cruise must be worth knowing. Or at least worth gaining some actual physical experience from. I'm tired of being the oldest woman who's never been intimate with someone. It's a pride thing, and also a curiosity thing. I want to know what intimacy is like. Despite what some of my friends think, I actually do have a sex drive. It's just in a state of constant free-floating frustration, never fixing on any man strongly enough for me to think about giving up my V-card. So I guess I can't be frigid. But why am I so picky? I'm not interested in girls. I've had my fair share of crushes on movie characters or celebrities and men in books, or once or twice, a teacher or someone else totally unattainable. I like men, but I don't like men who come at me like they're doing me a favor by even speaking to me, or who treat me like I'm a hooker they can use for free. I want the real thing, I think, as I pick up my magazine and my glass of ice and make my way to the pool grounds. I want to know what it's like to scream my head off with pleasure, while a man I actually want plays my body like an instrument. I want to know what it's like to rest in someone's arms and enjoy just being there. I want intimacy, love, marriage, kids, and a quiet place to settle down, preferably somewhere green and warm. I'm sick to death of my tiny Miami apartment, and the bed I share with absolutely no one. But my capricious sexuality, and the sheer number of unpleasant, unavailable, or inappropriate men I keep running into, have made it very hard. I hand the glass to a server as I pass by. He's young and marginally cute, and his dark eyes sweep over me as I turn to walk away. I'm aware of it, but that's about as much feeling as I can muster. I'm not offended or flattered. I set my magazine and towel on a lounger near the deep end, walk to the edge of the pool, and dive in. The cool water closes over my head, and I glide, finally feeling some peace in the half-deserted pool. The lap lane is nice and long, and even better, I have it to myself. I settle in to spend the rest of my time under the sun, cooling off and stretching my muscles. Swimming gives me some time to think in private without having to hide in my cabin. I'm determined to solve my little problem, and not by settling for someone who doesn't turn me on. Why should I? No, I'll just have to keep looking until I find a man that I really, really like. And when I do, he's getting all my love. I'm almost to the shallow end of the pool when some jerk in board shorts jumps in feet first and stands there in my way. I pop up, stopping immediately. The hell? And then I recognize him and wince. Cody, get the hell out of my lane, I'm doing laps. Stud Cody stands there with that same stupid grin he always has around me and bobs his head, arms folded stubbornly across his reedy chest. He's 18, probably barely 18, and I have no damn idea how he afforded this cruise. He has his phone in his free hand, without so much as a sandwich bag over it to protect it from the water. That alone makes it clear he didn't buy anything with his own money. You want to get some exercise, then you should take me back to your cabin. I'll give you plenty. I can feel a headache coming on. Get out of my lane, idiot. He's one of a litter of about 5 late-teen boys who have made nuisances of themselves for the whole cruise so far. How did they get aboard, and why are they running around pestering women who are twice their age? Can we pray for them? Cody's grin takes on an even sleazier cast. You want to see something? He opens his phone and shows me a picture of him. I'm a nurse. I've seen a lot of men. I look at it, my mouth an unimpressed line, and then look back up at his vacantly grinning face. You're kidding, right? Slowly it dawns on him that I'm not paying attention to his picture, nor am I freaking out or acting turned on. Instead, I just continue to stare down his dumb self sternly until his grin wavers. What? He manages finally, looking genuinely puzzled. I don't have time for this. Turning away from him, I push off the bottom and jump into a forward dive, knowing he'll be standing there, looking at my butt as it surfaces. Maybe even taking a picture. I do a single dolphin kick, sending a plume of water his way. I hear his yell of outrage as I zip away quickly, snorting a trail of bubbles. What the hell did you think would happen, taking your phone into a pool? My grim amusement quickly subsides as my loneliness and frustration well up inside again, leaving me swimming sadly for the deep end. When am I going to meet a man who is actually exciting?
Chapter 2. Daniel.
I managed to duck the machete aimed at my head, letting it bite into the trunk of the palm behind me, then kick its wielder in his hollow gut. He grunts and staggers but stays up. Ah hell, I mutter, clawing for my pistol as I dodge another swipe at my neck. I have no plans of being decapitated today. No one who'd ever heard of Daniel Case, the guy who hacked NORAD when he was 16, would expect to find me here. I pretty much belong in front of a computer screen, surfing around endless data streams, stealing information and altering records. So what the hell am I doing fighting pirates? Little help here, Jake. I call out, praying that my ex-soldier partner is still within earshot. My other partner, Sebastian, is up a tree with his rifle, picking off the pirates operating the rocket launcher. The boathouse was blown apart. Most of it is now floating in burning scraps next to our equally gutted fishing boat. As for the speedboat and the yacht, there are half a dozen Haitian pirates climbing all over them, yelling at each other in Creole because they can't get either one started. Too bad for them that we only fuel up when we're actually going out on the water. I duck another blow. The skinny man in the ragged red t-shirt and headscarf glares at me through bloodshot eyes, determined to cut me up no matter how many times he risks breaking his blade on the trees. I give up and aim the damn pistol. He finally backs off, still glaring. I hate killing. I've only done it before, and I'm trying to avoid doing it a second time. Unlike my partners, I've never adapted that well to our new life. He calls me several foul things in Creole, and then hisses that he's going to take on my mother when he's done with me. I respond in his language, letting him know that my mom's off in upstate New York, disapproving of my whole existence, so he's really welcome to the beach if he can pay the plane fare. He lets out a startled laugh, and his guard drops for just a second, so I keep the gun safety on and smack him as hard as I can across the face with that solid chunk of metal. Blood flies from his nose, and he drops like a stone. Ow. The impact hurt my hand, and I shake it out briefly as I grab his machete and toss it aside. One down, too damn many to go. He has a walkie-talkie with him, and I hook it onto my belt to listen in while I zip-tie his wrists and ankles. Pirates are foul-mouthed in any language, English, Somali, Russian, Creole. The stream of obscenities and insults flying alongside their communications all follow the same basic script. What is taking so long, you lazy losers? I overhear from the transceiver. There's no fuel, and the refueling tank's locked, boss. Well, what are you doing on those boats still, playing with each other? Go help capture those rich white creeps. Then they can fuel up the boats. Not so easy, boss. There's an idiot in the tree with a rifle. He got two of us already. We're pinned down. An angry growl. So fire a rocket at him, imbecile. We don't know what direction to fire in. A soft grunt and then a clatter, followed by a heavy thump. I sigh in relief and check my surroundings again before hurrying on, leaving my guy tied to a tree. I keep the pistol in my hand and tuck the machete in my belt. Looks like Sebastian's picked off 3 of them so far. I had better go help Jake, if he even needs it. But where the hell is he? The mid-conversation death of his man doesn't seem to do anything but annoy the pirate captain. How can my own cousins be so useless? How are the looters doing? Alana, are you through that gate yet? Clatters, thuds followed by muffled screams. Ah, damn. Alana. Help. I choke on a laugh. Oh. That's where Jake went. Former Army Specialist Big Jake Cosgrove is the #1 reason why Sebastian and I were able to survive 3 years on Rikers Island. The guy's a warrior. He'd die of boredom at my desk. For a profoundly honorable man, he loves a good fight way more than I'm comfortable with. Until, of course, we're fighting for our lives. Then I remember why we need his ferocity. I check the narrow trail that leads up between the trees from the burning dock to our walled compound high above, then start quietly climbing the hill. I keep listening in as I go, a plan forming in my mind. Now and again, as I climb, a heavy crack rolls across the slope, and I know that Sebastian, patient as a spider, is picking off another pirate. He picked up sniping fast once Jake offered to teach him. It's another horribly necessary skill. But unlike Jake, Sebastian is no soldier. Just a talented amateur who is better at hardening his heart than anyone I've ever been. Every time he pulls the trigger, I know why he has to do it, and I still wonder how he can stomach it. So far, I've taken down only 1 pirate, but I also disabled the towing rig on their modified fishing boat, cut their moorings and anchor line, blocked the refueling tank, and kept the fire from spreading, all without being shot or blown up. I don't kill, I use my head instead, along with a lot of sneaking around. Every one of us has a skill that we bring to the table when we work as a team. Jake is tough. Sebastian is persuasive. Me. I'm clever. As I run up the path, I'm already knuckle-deep into the guts of the walkie-talkie, switching a few wires around. I then disconnect the output speaker, crank up the volume as high as it will go, and set the radio down, holding the broadcast button down with a rock. The ringing screech of feedback erupts up and down the slope, as several men yell and curse. I hurry uphill, laughing to myself as I run toward the yelling near the compound gates. I've just cut their communications to each other, and distracted all of them. I wonder if their boss has noticed yet that he's slowly drifting out of the lagoon. A heavy whump of an explosion down on the beach leaves me wondering if we'll have to replace a boat, or if the pirates just lost their ride, and their boss. What the hell did you do, Sebastian? I draw my gun again as I reach the top of the hill, and stop just inside the tree line at the clearing in front of our compound. 6 men are on the ground, 4 unconscious and 2 groaning, disarmed and holding themselves. As I watch, one of the 4 who's still on his feet goes flying backward, landing on his ass in the dirt while he folds around his wounded guts. The man in the middle of the carnage has a machete in one fist and a broken baseball bat in the other. He's already emptied his gun. His huge figure is in constant motion, tawny hair flying, driving each man away from the half-open gate with brutal blows. It's an awesome sight, until I notice the blood soaking down the left calf of his bleached jeans. Stabbed or shot, it's a wonder he still has use of the leg, and bleeding freely enough to endanger him, especially if he goes down before the last pirate does. Damn. Glad I came up to give him some backup. No idea how long he'll last with his calf streaming like that. I can see the fire in Jake's green eyes, and know he wouldn't be able to hear me even if I were right beside him. I don't know if he has any Norse in him, but he sure acts like it when he gets deep into a fight. He's like a berserker, lost in the sheer ferocious joy of kicking ass. The pirates, who are either jacked on some stimulant, desperate, or incredibly stupid, or some combination, keep coming at him. They're beaten back time and again until they break. One of them, standing back with a pistol, catches my attention. I start creeping around toward him, my gun on him the entire time, praying I can get to him and disable him somehow before I have to use it. If his finger so much as tightens, I'll be forced to shoot him. "Get out of the way, you stupid dogs," he yells in frustration, but they ignore him and keep trying to fight. I can't put a bullet in him with you in the way. Just then, one of the last pirates stumbles back holding a broken arm, and his head flies up from a snap kick to the chin, sending him toppling over backward. He leaves a gap in the crowd. The gunman grins and aims, and the top of his head flies off in a chunk, and he collapses, his pistol firing harmlessly into the dirt. I stare at him, then down at the gun in my hand, my arm still aching from the recoil. I didn't hear it fire. I don't even remember pulling the trigger. Oh my, I think, bile crowding the back of my throat. I have to pull myself together for a moment. I can freak out later. Breathing in deep shudders as the cold sweat of nausea breaks out over my skin, I put my focus back on my friend and partner. I hear the grinding crack of Jake slamming the last two pirates' heads together. A few of them are limping away back down the path, unarmed and bleeding, moving as fast as they can. I turn around, still trying to keep my guts from heaving up my lunch, and see Jake standing there panting and triumphant, the hellfire slowly leaving his eyes. "Thanks," he says when he can speak. "You saved my life." I force a smile as I put the pistol away. I can't look at the corpse I just created. "Just paying you back some, bro." He grunts and nods in acknowledgement, looking around at the mix of unconscious, wounded, and broken bodies. Looks like they leave their men behind. He sounds disgusted, and I can't blame him. We might be outlaws, but we all have some very particular feelings about honor. Jake especially. Well, they're pirates. And not like Marcel. Marcel is a pirate, but he comes to trade and has a few beers. He's not stupid enough to attack us. Few are. I can hear yelling from the beach, and the rumble of an old boat motor. That fishing boat's guttural diesel growl was what alerted me that we had company when this all started. Think we've got them on the run. He sags slightly with relief and exhaustion, and exasperation at the pirates' reckless stupidity. Finally. Half these idiots died of sheer stubbornness. I radio Sebastian, touching my throat mic. "Hey Bastian, it's all dead and wounded up here. A few survivors are coming your way. Are they on the run beachside?" "The survivors." He sounds a little shaky, which is strangely reassuring. Whatever part of him that can coldly pick off human beings with a rifle has now sunk back beneath the surface, like Jake's dark side. "I'm afraid we'll have to get a new speedboat." One of them fired the rocket launcher into its fuel tank. I wince. So that's what that boom was. Guess their boat's still working. They waiting for their wounded, or do we have to ship them back to Haiti ourselves? They're covering their men's escape, probably on their captain's orders. There's only a handful left of the 20. "You guys okay?" His note of concern reassures me further, but I don't go off whining about having to shoot one guy, even if it's gnawing at me. If I do, he'll calmly tell me about all the guys whose heads he just blew off, and I'll feel even worse. Jake's bleeding, and they damaged the gate. They never got inside the compound, though. Damn, one of them tagged Jake. Is he still on his feet? I look back over at Jake, who's calmly limping around, stripping the pirates of their weapons. "Well, yeah, but this is Jake." Sebastian snorts. "I hear you. I'll be up to help patch him up as soon as I'm done here. Better wake up the guys he's knocked out so they can catch their ride." I do so hurriedly, shaking them awake and holding the pistol on them until they stagger off down the path. The last one stops breathing right as I touch him, and I snatch my hand back, my mind whirling. Crap. Back in the city, I would have started CPR, even if he'd just tried to mug me. It's an obligation there, where humanity still reigns. But this isn't New York City. We're on battlefield rules, and I don't fight to save a guy who was just trying to kill us. My heart feels like a stone sinking into my guts. Why the hell did they attack us? Haitian pirates are a fixture in the Caribbean. But most, like Marcel, are just out to make a buck. They don't generally look for trouble. So why did these guys come in force, weapons at the ready, to rip us off? Jake's hand lands on my shoulder. You okay? I look back at the burly giant, smiling tightly. I'll live. Besides, you're the one who's bleeding. He looks down and frowns at the sight of his own blood, as if he hadn't even noticed before. Damn it, he mumbles quietly. Only then does he waver a little bit, dropping his weapons. I lunge forward and get my shoulders under one of his arms. Take it easy. We'll go inside and get that wound cleaned and patched up. How you gonna do that? He mutters, still moving mostly on his own. That's a good sign, but he leaves a thin trail of blood behind him as we head for the gate. Our local medic's dead. One of the reasons that we're able to live this far from civilization is because we've made deals with people on nearby islands for what we need. Marcel and a few others bring us our goods, and until recently, an old retired country doctor in Jamaica was our regular and emergency doc. Unfortunately, at 87, the old man wasn't equipped to deal with tropical health hazards himself, and ended up dying on us 2 months ago. Doc Reed isn't the only guy in the islands who can patch up a leg, I reassure him, squashing my own worry and trying to sound cheerful as I help him inside. I'll find someone to help us. No worries. 4 hours later, I'm plenty worried. We got Jake's jeans cut off at the knee and pulled the bullet out of his calf, along with bits of denim and dirt. We sterilized the mess that was left using some of the medical supplies we had bought from the doc. Jake insisted on stitching it up himself. We bound the wound, got him some sports drink, and checked on him every 15 minutes as we labored to clean up from the fight. He drained 3 pints of the stuff and got some sleep. Everything looked good, up until we checked on him half an hour ago. He had developed a fever, and the edges of his wound had turned a dark purple like a day-old bruise. Now sweating, feverish and unconscious, Jake's body is fighting whatever's ailing him like the devil. We cleaned out his wound again, which seemed to help, but the fever is climbing and the wound is starting to smell. It's some kind of infection, but I've just never seen one move this fast. We have to find someone with enough medical training to take care of him, or he dies. I look up at Sebastian grimly. He massages the bridge of his nose and shifts his weight as he stands, looking over my shoulder at the computer screen. I'm open to suggestions on where to find one on short notice. Sebastian's the oldest of the 3 of us and the best with people, and the best with women too, something he loves to rub in our faces. He has a hot professor look to him with a thinly trimmed Van Dyke beard that he somehow pulls off, and salt and pepper hair swept back like mine. He always dresses well, putting in that extra effort to look presentable at all times. I can see how he managed to seduce all those billionaires' wives by looking credible enough to bilk them out of big chunks of their fortunes. Right now, though, he looks tired, baffled, and just as out of his depth as I feel. We'd be fools to go looking in Haiti after this. We could head up to Cuba and hope for the best, but we're a little too close to Guantanamo Bay, and it's not a good idea to go anywhere near it. It's technically still Cuban waters, but the U.S. military is thick over there. I'm typing rapidly as I talk. He leans on the desk next to me. What about Jamaica? It's risky at this time of night, even if we make it to Kingston Public Hospital. They'll definitely report a tourist with a gunshot wound to the authorities, just like in the U.S. But I have another idea. It's an idea I hate, but with Jake getting worse by the hour, it seems like a better option than pretending to be mugged tourists in Jamaica. I finish setting up my search parameters and hit enter. What are you doing? He peers at the screen, frowning at the scrolling code. Running a search of local vacation spots and any cruise ships in a 20-mile range. Both give big discounts to first responders, and I can search their records to see who they gave discounts to and what license they hold. If someone with the right credentials is near enough to us, we'll go fetch them. I glance up and see the look on his face, and my stomach tightens. His scowl deepens further. That's kidnapping. I fix him with my steadiest gaze, fighting off my guilt and forcing a smile. Not if you're persuasive enough. He considers. Well then. His eyebrows climb as the scowl gives way to his signature lopsided smile. To save a friend's life, I can be very persuasive. A few names and photographs have already started popping up from the search. One person, a surgical nurse with trauma training, catches my eye, and not just for her gorgeous red hair. I sit forward to look at her record. Alana Godwin, trauma nurse with 6 years of experience. She's on a cruise ship barely 2 miles away, and she's alone. We've got 2 working boats left. I hesitate and then say, I think I may have found someone.
Chapter 3. Alana.
I'm still snickering as I make my way back to my cabin. I had to cut my laps short, but that was only because I was laughing too hard to keep swimming without snorting water. Oh man, this is too precious. I need a damn nap. Stud Cody is in deep, deep trouble. His immediate reaction when the phone he took into the pool got splashed was to try to complain to security. I'm not sure how he thought that simply throwing on a pair of board shorts would disguise him from his own coworkers, but security had recognized him at once. It turns out that he and his buddies had all gotten jobs on the cruise ship washing dishes and hauling luggage. Instead of making good money and enjoying their time off, they decided to ditch their work and their uniforms and take turns cougar hunting while covering for each other. If the impression Cody made was any indication, all they'd managed to do was annoy everyone they ran into. Oh well, at least that's over now. Tomorrow we land in Jamaica for 2 days to see the sights, stretch our legs, and flirt with the locals. Hopefully, I can at least get some good hiking and snorkeling. I'm determined to enjoy myself, no matter how the guys around me decide to behave. Meanwhile, I intend to get some sleep and afterwards a late dinner, and then going to the one pool open for night swimming to try again. I already feel a bit better for taking a dip, but I'll be happiest when I can actually burn off energy. There's something so refreshing about a good bout of exercise. Swimming and hiking remind me of my dad, who taught me to do both. When I was younger, back when Dad was around, he tried to teach me everything he could. I can defend myself, fix a sink, drive a backhoe, and pilot a boat. I knew how to balance a budget when I was 14. With Mom so depressed all the time, Dad did everything he could to help me be as self-sufficient as possible so that I could take care of myself and Mom if anything happened to him. He was ex-military. Mortality was something he had come to terms with at a very young age. I didn't know it then, but he'd actually been living on borrowed time. A poor man like my dad, who can't afford a lawyer, can end up behind bars for a long while just for pissing off the wrong cop. He never did a single damn thing wrong, except cooperate with my mom to shelter that nightmare cop's beaten-up girlfriend. Dad went to prison when he was blamed for the beating. He was led off in handcuffs when I was 15, and died in a prison riot less than a year later. Mom fell apart, and I spent my late teens looking after her. I did my part, Dad. Hope you're both proud of me, but Dad, I swear they broke the mold after you. The nursing program at college was my ticket to a better life for both of us. But Mom missed her husband too much to stick around, I guess. And me, I've soldiered on ever since. It hurts that I've had to do so much heavy lifting in my life alone, but I refuse to let it break me. One day, I won't be alone. I believe in that, even if it takes me years to find the right guy. My cabin is the smallest available on the ship. The full-sized bed takes up one end, along with a small closet, television, and a desk and chair. The maid has already tidied up. I walk into the tiny bathroom and hang my towel on the shower rod, then turn on the infrared heater and the fan. I shed my bathing suit and stand at the sink rinsing out the chlorine, now and again glancing up at my reflection in the mirror. I'm freckling slightly, but my skin has darkened a touch without burning after 2 days. Nothing impressive by Miami standards, but then again, my starting base tan could have disappeared against a snowbank. Maybe I should have picked Alaska for my cruise. I really don't have the melanin for the Caribbean. I laugh again as I wring out my tankini and hang it up. I rinse myself off briefly with a shower wand, humming quietly, and then towel dry and comb my hair. Back it goes in my usual braid. I watch my full pale-tipped breasts lift in the mirror as I weave my fire-red strands together. Why the hell can't I attract a better class of man than I have? Well, it's not due to my looks, that's for sure. Grumbling softly, I pull on a loose thigh-length nightgown of rose-pink silk and climb into bed. Be patient, I tell myself, but right now, a need for fulfillment that I don't even fully understand gnaws at me painfully. I close my eyes and descend into the muddy dreams of a restless early evening nap. 2 hours later, I open them again, and I think for a few moments that I'm still dreaming. Two of the most attractive men I have ever seen in the flesh are standing near the edge of my bed beside the open balcony door. Both of them are dressed all in black and are very big. Unexpectedly, they don't seem to have any weapons on them, and they make no threatening moves, aside from their intimidating hovering. I'm so distracted by both of them that at first, I can't even ask who the hell they are, let alone demand how they got in. The younger one is a bit taller and slimmer, with broad shoulders and the body of a dancer. He carries himself gracefully and appears a bit worried, as he gazes back at me with intense, dark eyes. His raven black hair is swept back, just long enough that it touches his collar, and he has fine, slightly pale features. The other man is older, with gray at his temples and streaking through his dark brown hair, which is shorter than his companion's. His features are softer, in part because of his trim beard, and he's wearing a reassuring smile. His hazel eyes twinkle almost flirtatiously, and his well-shaped lips are the first to move. Miss Godwin? Please don't be alarmed. I sit up, the sheet falling from my upper body, and I hear the younger one suck in the air sharply. Better talk pretty fast then, Mr. Total Stranger who just broke into my cabin. Who are you? How did you get in here, and what do you want? The bearded one stares at my breasts beneath the clinging silk of my nightgown for a half-second, before dragging his gaze back up to my face. My name's Sebastian, and this is Daniel. We are here because we didn't have a choice. There's literally a life on the line, and you're the nearest qualified person to help. Wait, what the hell? I pinch my leg under the covers, but I'm quite awake. I know that first responders get tapped aboard cruises now and again, but you're definitely not with the cruise staff. Sebastian smiles apologetically. No, actually, we're from a neighboring island with no resident medic. We climbed up the side from our boat. He gestures outside, and I see a damn grappling hook hanging firmly from the balcony railing. What the hell? Who are they, pirates? Is this a kidnapping? If it is, why don't they just grab me? What did you do, hack the ship's computer to find nurses? The two shoot each other impressed looks, and the dark-haired hunk coughs into his fist. Actually, yeah. I did. Good catch. We're approaching you because we have a friend who has a badly infected wound. He probably shouldn't be moved, and we've no other real options to get him help quickly. Sebastian sounds deadly serious. He's either in a real pinch or the best actor I've ever seen. He will die without assistance. My ears prick up at the mention of a medical emergency. I'm a first responder. I know what I should be doing when someone yells for a medic. But people who yell for a medic do not normally start off by breaking into my cabin. Okay, I'm listening instead of screaming for help so far. Just one thing though. I stare back and forth at each of them and then fold my arms. What part of breaking into my cabin, invading my privacy, and interrupting my vacation do you think your emergency justifies? None of it, Daniel winces. It's a reason, not an excuse. This must look weird as hell to you, and I don't blame you for being suspicious. But we are telling the truth. Without help, our friend's done. He'll either lose the leg or his life. I stare at them, awake enough now to be slightly freaked out instead of just annoyed. They could very easily be lying to me to get me to cooperate in my own kidnapping, but to what purpose? The only thing I can do is try to figure out if they are telling the truth or not. I get out on the other side of the bed, putting it between them and me. I feel the weight of their gazes on me in the dim light. Why didn't you just approach the onboard medical crew? They could take the whole ship to you, clinic and all. This is an American ship, and we're not on good terms with the American legal system at the moment, so it's best that they don't know where we are. Daniel goes quiet as he spots his partner shoot a mild glare his way. She deserves to know. His little argument in my favor softens me a bit. I sigh, standing there with my arms crossed against my chest. Okay, fine. What happened, and what are your friend's symptoms? Criminals? If they don't answer, or if they feed some baloney story, I should just scream my head off for security. They could be looking for a cooperative victim, or they could be telling the truth, and we could be wasting time that their friend doesn't have. Let's see what they say and if they describe a real disease. I took pictures. Sebastian pulls a phone out of his black fatigues, unlocks it, and hands it over. Each one has a time and date stamp. I scroll through them and it's suddenly my turn to wince. Oh crap, this is totally real. Geez. Gunshot wound. Did you remove the bullet before you stitched him up? Any debris? I enlarge one of the images and wince in sympathy harder. That could very well be a staph infection, a bad one. Antibiotic-resistant staph infections are the bane of modern hospitals. They are the most common flesh-eating virus and can start from a skin breach as small as a popped zit. This was a fairly heavy-caliber gunshot that miraculously missed both his bone and major blood vessels. The edges of the wound are suffering from necrosis already. The pictures are time-stamped from an hour ago. We pulled out bits of his jeans and the bullet. We disinfected the wound twice, Daniel sighs. This still happened and it came on fast. I stare at the deep purple and black bruising and the swelling flesh around the wound. Okay. The good news is that if we can actually control the infection before he loses the muscle, he'll get out of this with a scar and a month on crutches. Both of them exhale sharply, and the younger one swallows. Okay, he says as if bracing himself. What's the bad news? The bad news is, you're right. This is a necrotizing soft tissue infection. He could lose the leg or his life if he doesn't get treatment soon. I check the rest of the images. He's lucky he's a big strong guy, or his chances would be even worse. And if I was going to try to kidnap a medical professional, this is exactly the sort of malady I'd use as bait. There isn't anyone in the world that would profit much from kidnapping me though. I have negative money in the bank, thanks to student loan debts. I have no living relatives, and I've never pissed anyone off enough for them to want to do it out of spite. There's human trafficking, but plucking someone out of their cruise ship suite doesn't seem like the easiest or safest way to do that if you're trying to avoid calling attention to yourself. Much easier to just grab people off the street or drug their cocktails in nightclubs. At the news of his friend's prognosis, Sebastian sighs sharply and shoves his hands into his pockets. Daniel curses, rubbing his face. His reaction seems as genuine as his companion's. Then you'll come with us? I hesitate. They could be playing me. But if they're not, then I'll have this man's blood on my hands. Damn. What guarantee do I have that I'll be returned safely? We have every intention of returning you safely, but we can't make any guarantees, Sebastian admits earnestly. Anything we tell you would be a glib lie. But those photos are absolutely real, and our friend is unquestionably in danger. But I'm perfectly willing to hand you a suitcase with $50,000 cash, as soon as his fever breaks and he's well enough for us to look after on our own. My eyebrows shoot to my hairline in surprise. $50,000 would erase my debts, fix my car, and let me put down money on a house within driving distance of town. But that could be a lie too. Yes, it could be. But it isn't. I have no way of proving that until I put the cash in your hands. Sebastian's lopsided smile is wry and almost flirtatious. Despite the circumstances, I have to press my knees together to steady them. Damn, if he's got a game during a medical emergency potential kidnapping, then what else can he do? Who is this guy? We don't have time for this, Daniel snaps, stepping around the bed and reaching under his vest. I see the gun and freeze. Wait, Daniel, I thought we were convincing her. Sebastian looks both shocked and a little angry, and neither expression shifts when Daniel reverses the grip of the gun and presses it into my hands. I am, he says in a raw voice. Then he looks at me with a mix of bitterness and desperation in his eyes. Look. If we try anything, now you can defend yourself. I close my hands around the gun, shocked by this turn of events. It's a Smith & Wesson revolver, fired recently enough that it still smelled faintly of cordite. How to handle a gun was one more thing my dad had taught me. Okay, so they are armed. But the other guy didn't touch his, even though he looks mighty pissed. I check the chambers, fully loaded. I snap the cylinder back into place and look up at them. If you guys are messing with me, it will take a team of surgeons to remove my boots from your asses. Sebastian looks charmed and a little scandalized, but Daniel just keeps giving me that desperate pleading look. Okay then, he says. Let's go. You can rejoin your crews when they sail back through this area in a few days. I'm not going in this, I grumble, and Sebastian snickers slightly. I draw the line at saving strangers with mysterious gunshot wounds while wearing a filmy nightie. Daniel blinks. Oh. Right. That just makes Sebastian snort again. Hey, I wouldn't have complained, Sebastian says with a lopsided grin. Stud Cody could learn a thing or two from this man if he ever wants to have an actual shot with the ladies. I head for my suitcase, shaking the thought away. You're not the one who would end up with mosquito bites on your ass. Good point. By the time I clamber gingerly down the knotted grapnel line, I'm in jeans, hiking boots, and a blue gauze blouse over a matching tank top. The outfit's more practical than sensual, which part of me regrets, probably that same part that keeps my eyes tracing the lines of my unexpected guests' bodies through their clothes. I might be a little out of my mind. I'm going with two admitted fugitives to an unknown island that they claim to jointly own with their friend, who appears to have a hideous and fast-moving infection. I'll have to fight for this man, and my focus should be on that, but this is too damn weird to be believed. I can't help but be distracted. I'm responding to these men on an instinctive level, their looks, the movements of their bodies, their sense. It's both of them too, not just one. That's more distracting than anything, after years of wondering if I'm frigid. I'm so intrigued by this turn of events that I'm starting to forget to be wary. Daniel gave me his gun. Unless that is a trick too, and he sabotaged it first. But I checked the damn thing before accepting it. As a trust offering, it's not bad. I jump down into their small racing yacht and stick the landing, then move to a seat. The pistol is stuck through my belt, and my hand steadies it carefully through every jostle of the boat. Dad trained me in weapons handling, and the first part of that was gun safety. I look up to a perfect view of Daniel's lean ass descending toward me. He jumps down the last few feet and turns to me, slipping my backpack full of clothes and supplies off his shoulder and handing it to me. He settles in on the bench across from me with an exhausted sigh. So, how did your friend get shot anyway? I ask as I watch Sebastian from the same very interesting angle. He climbs down to the deck, then shakes the grappling hook loose and catches it before turning to the boat controls. Daniel glances away, a little uncomfortably. It's a long, ugly story. Fine, I reply as Sebastian starts the engine and Daniel unties us from the cruise ship's side. We've got a trip ahead, so start talking.
Chapter 4. Sebastian.
I've got a weakness for women. All races, all builds, from barely 20 to anything older. If a woman wants me and she's friendly and reasonably attractive, I rarely ever see a reason why I should say no. But this weakness of mine only goes as deep as my libido. I don't fall for women, women fall for me. Or so I thought, until 20 minutes ago when I first laid eyes on Alana. This isn't how things are supposed to go. I'm the scoundrel. I'm the seducer, not the seduced. I'm a rich man's illegitimate son, the result of a brief adventure with his maid, who was let go when she started to show signs of pregnancy. Neither one of us ever got a dime from him. So when I was barely 19, I discovered that my seed donor was on trophy wife number 4, a lovely young woman, 20 years old and in the prime of her life, and I decided to seduce her. I met her in a coffee shop, using every tool and trick I'd learned as a drama student. She didn't recognize me. I take after Mom when it comes to looks. We had coffee, went to a movie, kissed in a park, and then went back to my father's house and were intimate. It's a win-win situation for her, except if he ever catches her, she of course takes the fall alone. But even then, it generally ends in divorce, not jail. In my father's case, revenge was particularly sweet. He was so furious upon discovering what I had done that he raged himself right into a massive coronary. I slept with his newly rich widow a few more times, took my commission, and walked away. And then the next billionaire with an unfulfilled wife wandered into my sights. I made seduction my trade for many years. Because of all that, I'm used to having the upper hand, emotionally and physically, in any non-business interaction with an attractive woman. But the moment I looked into Alana's eyes and saw the curves of her body under that clinging, drifting silk, I knew that she would be a challenge. Every dominant fiber of my being came alive. Fortunately, I love challenges. Right now, though, I'm trying to catch the young lady in question up on our desperate situation. Her reaction is adorable. Haitian pirates. She stares at me wide-eyed, and I struggle to hide my amusement. You guys actually had to fight off pirates, she says in disbelief. Well, the island is our territory. It's in international waters, and belongs to us alone. That means we can't expect any other country's coast guard to help us. Pirates know that, I explain. It's the downside to owning sovereign islands in certain parts of the world. Daniel speaks over his shoulder as he takes his turn at steering us through the choppy sea. He and I are both exhausted and are switching often in order to stay alert. So much for the fantasy of retiring to a tropical island, she mumbles, sounding a little stunned. How did you get the pirates to go away again? Daniel hesitates, the discomfort in his voice clear to me, and I step in smoothly. We fought them off, sabotaged their communications, and blew up a boat. I carefully avoided mentioning all the bodies we were forced to dump into deep water that afternoon. We got rid of all traces, covered the bloodstains with sand, and let the sea and the sharks do the rest. Brutal, but effective. Jake made some joke about mounting their skulls on poles to scare the next batch of intruders off, but he was half delirious at the time. As for me, I dealt with my nausea and did the job. So did Daniel, surprisingly. The guy hates blood. But we can always count on him to do his part, and I guess he couldn't stomach sitting back and letting us do the work alone. Damn, Alana murmurs. So there's no chance they'll come back while I'm there, right? No, they would have to fix their boat and convince enough reinforcements to come back with them. And there was absolutely no way that would be happening anytime soon. We put the fear into them, don't worry. You just focus on saving Jake, and we'll worry about the rest, all right. My tone turns almost tender, and she fights down a wider smile than she perhaps intended to show. That makes me have to fight my own in turn. Gotcha. I might be hooked, but so is she. There are a few things you have to do if you want to seduce a woman, if you want her to be interested in you. One of those things is to show her that you're safe for her to be around, safe for her to confide in. Protective but not overbearing. Honorable. Consistent. That was always easy for me to do with my Mark's wives, because I wasn't after them. I was actually after their husbands, whom they often resented and wanted to rebel against. I made it clear from the beginning that I meant them no harm, and in doing so, I was able to get past their guards. As I will with Alana. Persuasion is my most valuable skill. I just wish that Daniel hadn't given her the gun. She's a civilian. We have no idea if she has any experience with a revolver, and if she gets nervous enough, she could put a hole in one of us before I can get the situation under control. Still, it did the trick. She's in the boat, and she agreed to save Jake. I'm mostly just sitting back and counting my blessings at this point. If she had refused, I don't know what we would have had to do. Even now, I hate the idea that we might have had to actually kidnap her. I may be a con artist and an escaped convict, but I'm not a monster. I feel bad enough about having to shoot a bunch of guys today. I did it to keep them from blowing up our island, and us with it, but having no choice doesn't make it easier to deal with. Good thing I'm a good actor. If I wasn't, if I'd actually let on as to how freaked out I was, Daniel would probably have lost it too. I managed it. That's what matters now. So what kind of business are you guys in, that you have a whole island to yourselves? She sounds fascinated, and a little uncertain. Can't say I blame her. Early retirement at this point, Daniel replies fairly smoothly. But I'm in computers. I'm in mergers and acquisitions, I reply, and Daniel shoots me a glare at the pun. It's true though. Granted, I'm merging with rich old jerks' wives and acquiring their wealth, but it still applies. Right now, I'm much more interested in merging with Alana. But there's just one complication. The guys and I share everything. We bought the island with my money, but Daniel had invested it and made it grow, and Jake did the bulk of the design and construction of the buildings we now call home. My money got us across the border, but Daniel got us out, and Jake kept us safe while he did. When it comes to women, we've had flings before. Every last woman knows going in that we're all interested, and if she's not interested in all of us, we don't move forward. All or nothing. It might sound strange to some, but it removes the main source of competition between us and helps avoid conflict, and the lady in question gets a lot of attention. So far, none of us have had any complaints. This time's different though. I can already feel it. I can't take my eyes off of Alana, and neither can Daniel when he's not at the wheel. We both seem to be just a little too interested. I hope this isn't going to be trouble. I need to have a look at what medical equipment and supplies you have available. Jake is going to need intravenous antibiotics. Lots of them. Alana's face has taken on a serious air again. I look back at her as she sits on the bench across from me and nod at once, pulling out my phone to hand her the inventory list the doc's daughter emailed me. She scrolls through it, frowning thoughtfully. Clindamycin oral. Great for aftercare, but first he has to recover enough to start taking it. More scrolling. Here are the intravenous formulas for infusion. And this list is up to date. Absolutely, I reply warmly, hoping that they are. Half an hour later, we're back on the island. I thank my past self for towing the burnt-out wrecks away from the damaged dock as I pull up to it, and Daniel jumps out to tie us off. Alana looks around, her eyes wide. Wow! What the hell did they use to attack you? One of them had a rocket-powered grenade launcher. I can't keep the grimness out of my voice. They used them to threaten passing ships. The truth is that if the cruise ships didn't have armed security on them, they would probably get hit a lot too. Damn. I thought things like that only happened off the coast of Somalia. Nah, there are pirates everywhere, and RPGs are the modern ship's cannon basically. You use it to threaten to sink ships and destroy buildings, and suddenly the owners of those things get a lot more cooperative. I stand up and offer her my hand to help her out of the boat as Daniel finishes tying off. When we get in to see Jake, for a moment, I'm genuinely worried that he might be dead. He's pale, eyes sunken, and generally looks like hell. His skin is wet with sweat, and he doesn't respond at all as we walk in and Daniel calls his name. My stomach is just starting to curdle when Jake lets out a low, snoring gasp and rolls over slightly. Damn. Don't scare me like that, big guy. Daniel huffs a sigh. Damn, I thought he was dead for a second. I nod in agreement. Alana ignores us, striding over and pulling back the sheet to have a look at her patient. For a few moments, she just stares down at him. Then she pulls on a pair of gloves from the box on his bedside table, her face all business. She checks his forehead, takes his pulse, and then grabs the bandage scissors and gingerly cuts away the gauze. Daniel sucks air between his teeth and I stare, sickened. That looks worse. It really does. The red swelling has expanded to take up most of Jake's calf, and the purple and black bruising at the edges of the wound has expanded to the size of my hand. There's leakage around the stitches, my nose wrinkles at the smell. Worse than the photos. Yeah, it is. Definitely some kind of high-octane standard staff or MRSA. She turns to look at the two of us, arms folded. I need your entire supply of IV equipment, saline, and antibiotics. Bring them back here and then put some gloves on. You two are my orderlies for the night. Yes, ma'am, I say cheerfully, and she smiles faintly and shakes her head. Damn. Daniel keeps up with me easily as we walk out to the storehouse. She's amazing, isn't she? I wonder if she's taken. She was on a singles cruise, wasn't she? And if she was taking a nap in the early evening, that means she probably didn't have anyone to hang out with back there. I smile at him, a little teasingly. Trust me, she's single and looking. The compound is a series of straw bale and earth bag buildings, tiled and heavily waterproofed, surrounded by a 10-foot thick rammed earth wall. I can still smell cordite faintly on the air outside, tinged with the stink of blood and smoldering wood rising from the beach. I smile through my nausea, keeping my manner relaxed. The storage shed is one of the larger buildings, dome-shaped, with a heavy steel door salvaged from an old bank. Like most of the buildings, it has a ring of skylights made from old porthole glass. So, do you think we should propose a few nights together with her? He keeps his voice almost comically quiet as he pulls the door open as if she's going to pop out of Jake's hut and start yelling if she hears us. Once Jake is better. Otherwise, he's gonna be pissed that we didn't wait for him. As he opens the door, I reach inside and turn on the light, revealing rows of steel racks full of food and dry goods. Can't wait. We go inside and retrieve our shopping list, and he hesitates briefly with his arms in the medical fridge. Do you think she can save Jake? I think Jake will save Jake. He just needs some help. And I think she'll do a good job at that, if we give her a chance. And if we get these supplies to her ASAP. I give him a reassuring smile as I gather the last bits and turn to go back outside. I guess you're right. Besides, if I remember correctly, a tough redhead is exactly his speed, so he'll sure have an incentive to get well soon. He winks and I laugh, nodding. She's my speed too. She really is. Of all the women, young and old, that I have seduced since I became properly good at intimacy, none had ever left me worried that they would say no to me. The only thing that was at risk back on the mainland was financial opportunity, and perhaps my pride. While getting them to say yes was never hard, there weren't any stakes if I did end up getting rejected. Not now. Now I want this woman so badly that the idea that she might take off as soon as Jake is stable makes my stomach tense up. I think you're right. There's nothing like a lovely lady to act as an incentive. And you all better share, or I'm going to be more than annoyed. He flashes a grin. It's sure an incentive for me to help him get well, fast. Damn. We both laugh as we walk back to Jake's cottage. When we walked in with our boxes, Alana had already shifted a board under Jake's leg and sandwiched an absorbent pad in between. She's washing his leg and slathering it with an antibiotic ointment. Good, you're back. Set a little bit of everything within reach, and someone gets in position to pass me stuff. I move to help her out while Daniel gets us cold drinks. She cuts the sutures and removes them so fast that she practically unzips them and gingerly probes the wound. I wince at the smell and the mess and glance away. How the hell can you stomach all of this? Training and practice, she replies as she starts irrigating the wound with saline. Human biology is messy. If I let myself get grossed out, a patient suffers without getting the treatment they need. If I was too squeamish to see the insides of people, I wouldn't last long in this job. Has anything ever been too much for you? I ask, coughing into my fist. The first time I had to do a compound fracture on a young kid wasn't very fun, that's for sure. We had to bolt his leg back together. He got the use of it back, but I wanted to kill his mom for leaving him unattended for so long. You don't leave a kid outside while you grab the phone when they're that little. He was up a tree in under a minute. She finishes irrigating the wound, turns on Jake's desk lamp, and repositions it to shine directly on his leg. Did we leave any debris in the wound? I can't look at it long. I keep my eyes on Jake's face instead. He seems to be having a little trouble breathing, not like the long silences and sudden snores from earlier. Neither Daniel nor I have any skills beyond basic first aid. I did my best with the info I could find online, Daniel says as he brings us chilled beers and frozen limes. But that's like trying to learn martial arts from a book. It doesn't work all that well. You didn't do badly. This is not a normal case of wound sepsis. I'm not seeing any debris, and if he bled for a while, it probably helped clear the wound of dirt and small foreign objects. But if this is MRSA or something like it, even a small cut could have started it just as easily. She tears open one of the dressing envelopes and pulls out a long roll of grayish foam. What's that? Antimicrobial foam. It'll kill bacteria on the exposed wound surface and cover it so it hurts less. It will absorb all that crap too, and keep it from getting into his bloodstream. It should also help slow down the necrosis. Some of those words are Greek to me, but I nod along and smile, discarding the wrapper for her. Got you a cold drink? Daniel offers. Sounds good, but my hands are a little busy right now. Do you want to help me out? Hold that beer bottle on the back of my neck. It's hot as a kiln in here. Daniel and I exchange glances, and I give him a nod. Make the most of it, I think, as he walks up to Alana's other side and holds the beer on her nape as she asks. If she's as competent as she seems, then we won't have much time for seduction before Jake's fever breaks. Good for him if she is that good, but it doesn't leave us much to work with if we're going to warm her up to the idea of our little proposition.
Chapter 5. Alana.
It takes me half an hour to clean out the wound, pack it with antimicrobial dressing, clean the outside, and wrap it up. Finding a vein in Jake's massive arm is easy. I set up the port and get Ringer solution and antibiotics flowing into his bloodstream. After that, it's mostly a matter of keeping him comfortable, changing the bags now and again, and monitoring him. Jake's body is tough, I have to give him that. Just cleaning the wound, rehydrating him, and starting the flow of antibiotics seems to help more than I'd expected. He fell into a more peaceful sleep in minutes, and when I check him half an hour later and sponge off some of the sweat, the swelling has not advanced any further. There you go, big guy. I look over his broad tanned frame, ogling him almost on instinct as I wipe him down. Golden brown skin, golden brown hair, and an almost brutally handsome face. All three of these guys are amazing hunks, but I have to keep my mind on my work right now. Sebastian touches my shoulder very softly. I try to ignore the tingle of heat that radiates out from his fingertips. Gosh, a few hours ago, I was lamenting the fact that I've never found a single guy that first wanted to get intimate with, and now I want to be with all three of them? I think, barely able to focus when he asks, "How is he doing?" Temperature's no longer climbing, and the infection's no longer spreading. I'm calling this a good sign, but he still needs to be watched. My eyes are tracing a black ink tattoo on Jake's triceps. The style is familiar, Dad had one. I massage my temple and step back, accepting another beer. If you have any prison tattoos yourself, you should know that they're one of the most common causes of staph infections. Lack of sterilization is the usual culprit. Both Daniel and Sebastian have gone very quiet as they stare at me. I look back at them frankly, folding my arms. Staph colonizes the nose and the skin. It doesn't become a problem until the skin is breached or someone else is exposed. But once that happens, you can end up with a situation like this. Daniel takes a deep breath and then swallows his beer even deeper. How do we get rid of it? You'll need to use a special antibacterial soap and lotion for roughly 6 months. I'll give you a product list and a regimen. It's especially important for Jake, but if you think you may have been exposed, it really can't hurt. They both look worried, which means they both have prison tattoos of their own. My heart sinks. I know Dad was inside for a while, but did his experience twist me somehow? The first men I've been attracted to in forever who aren't gay, and all three are ex-cons. Gosh, I really hope that's not my type. Daddy issues, anyone? It also doesn't help that all three have at least a decade on me. Well, first, I'd like to thank you for all you've done and all you've risked in coming here. Sebastian runs his fingers through his hair and shifts his weight. Though I'm rather surprised you had so little problem running off with a band of admitted outlaws. I shake my head after a moment. It does explain why you didn't want to go to the mainland with him for medical care. It also explains why you clambered up the side of the cruise ship instead of blending into the crowd and maybe being caught on a security camera. Sebastian exchanges a glance with a slightly more nervous-looking Daniel. I see. Well, you're quite observant. But you also breezed past my rather crucial question. I look him in the eye. Was there a question? I'm here to do a job, and my job is saving people. Unless I've stumbled upon a couple of guys who kill babies for their organs, convicts qualify as people too. But since you mentioned it, I have experience with convicts. I know what the system is like, and how it dehumanizes people. My dad was inside when he died. Okay? There's so much more to it than that, so my concise summary will never feel sufficient. Crying my eyes out at 15, terrified, hating the cops for helping their corrupt brother-in-arms take Dad away, writing endless letters to him, and finding that the ones he sent back had already been opened and read by someone else. His desperate, sad question from behind the visitation room's partition, "Do you hate me now?" No, Daddy. Never. I don't know Sebastian well enough to get into the ugly details. I'm hoping he's smart enough to read that in my tone. He has the sense to back off at once. Oh. Well, that explains it then. There's a surprise in his eyes and voice, and relief. I nod distractedly as I finish with Jake, covering him back up with a light blanket and closing the mosquito netting hanging around his bed. I need a cold drink without booze and something to eat. And someplace to stash my stuff would be nice too. I still have the damn backpack with me. Come over to the galley with us, Daniel invites, and I nod as we take turns washing our hands. We'll have sandwiches and I'll make egg creams. I stare at him briefly. You make egg creams? Yeah. My uncle had a malt shop in Brooklyn. He chuckles a little at my confusion. Ever had one? Their smiles are infectious. I don't fight mine this time. No. Guess I'd better let you change that.
Chapter 6. Alana.
Egg creams turn out to be delicious. Especially the chocolate ones. Like the other buildings, the galley is made of some kind of adobe materials with a tile roof and very thick tiled walls. It's 10 degrees cooler inside, and I sigh with relief as I settle into one of the heavy, carved wooden chairs. Man, I thought Miami heat was intense. It's the higher humidity, Daniel says distractedly as he heads for the fridge. Do you want me to turn on the air conditioner? Sebastian asks. I smile and shake my head. Nah, I should try to get used to it. Maybe later if I can't sleep. I don't know how in the world I'm going to sleep though, but that's got nothing to do with the heat. It's the company. Despite the crazy way we met, these men are turning out to be good company. They have interesting stories, but even more interesting is the way they appeal to me on a raw, animal level. But which one should I flirt with? Sebastian is charming as hell. His eyes twinkle with just enough mischief to make him really intriguing, his lopsided smile tickles me, and that little purr he gets in his voice when he flirts makes me weak in the knees. Daniel, though, seems far more earnest. It's almost as if he needs me to believe him and trust him. Not only that, but he seems to be struggling with trusting me. It's not anything I take personally. I'm as strange to them as they are to me. And he already got a huge vote of confidence from me by handing me a working firearm. He has a genuine, honest interest in me that's more than a match for Sebastian's superficial charm, but here I am, attracted to them both equally. And then there's Jake, who's not even conscious yet. I don't know the color of his eyes, the sound of his voice, or a single thing about his personality, yet I still have to stop myself from running my hands over his magnificent body now and again, avoiding it only because it would be a breach of trust. I'm in trouble. And not just because I'm on a strange island with a group of convicts who are wanted by the US government, not to mention that there seems to be a risk of pirates lurking around. No. I'm in trouble because I don't know which one of these guys I should sleep with. But it's definitely going to be one of them. The two conscious ones are both interested. I can tell from the way their gazes follow me as I cross the room. The gentle way Daniel cooled my neck with a beer bottle, the twinkle in Sebastian's eye as he handed me tools. Am I going to cause a rift between them because I can't decide? What the hell do I do? I don't know where to start. Do I have the steak, the lobster, or the beefcake surprise? I stifle a giggle and take another swallow of my egg cream. So, how long have you guys lived here? 5 years, Daniel says at once. Sebastian shoots him a glance but then nods. It's not a bad place, pirates and hurricanes aside. It's private, the soil's fertile, and normally we can get whatever we need from one of the surrounding islands. But no local doctor? It seems strange. Maybe I'm just too aware of all the possible health hazards out here in the tropics, but I wouldn't live in a place like this without at least two medical experts within fairly easy reach. Sebastian sighs. He died a few months ago, and we have no backup. All three of us are as healthy as horses most of the time, but we didn't count on a firefight with pirates. I still can't quite get over that fact. What is it, the 1500s? Why are people still doing this and expecting to get away with it? Daniel nods sagely as he sips his strawberry egg cream. Yeah. With pirates. Still kind of stunned by that. Not just because they were pirates, but because they were stupid enough to run up against us. The local pirates are usually smarter than that. I frown. You said they were Haitian. Sebastian nods and sits forward. Yes. Why? My hospital gets public health alerts from all over the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. Ever since the earthquake hit, Haiti has had outbreaks of crime and disease in the relief camps. There are a lot of people fleeing to different countries, and a lot of people who are just desperate in general. Daniel looks troubled at this. Desperation could easily have led them to do something stupid, like attacking us, I guess. Sebastian finishes making the sandwiches and hands me one. It's so enormous that I have no idea how I'll be able to fit my mouth around it. He sees my eyes go wide and chuckles. Like it? I tentatively bite into a corner of the stacked roast beef, cheese, turkey, and veggie creation. I have to open my mouth so wide it makes my jaw ache, but the moment my mouth closes over the first bite, my appetite wakes up, and I chew enthusiastically. I manage to mumble. Daniel snorts and sits back, sipping his egg cream. He takes his sandwich but sets it aside on the table. Maybe he's not ready for meat yet after watching me tend Jake's wound. I can't even blame him for that. Keeping your appetite after seeing something so gruesome is a skill few people, other than medical personnel and soldiers, ever master. I check my watch. Okay, that's half an hour. Time for me to check on our patient. This is going better than expected. I guess I don't mind skipping Jamaica. I just hope the cruise staff assumes I've gone exploring on the island. I'll come with in case you need a hand, Sebastian breezes, not even having taken a seat yet. He winks at Daniel, who smirks slightly and glances away for some reason. The night air is thick with damp heat. Walking out into it is like walking into a sauna. I try to ignore the way it makes my tank top stick to me. Sebastian walks close beside me, and I find myself self-conscious about my sweatiness, the wisps of hair sticking to my cheeks, and any possible scent I might be exuding. But that bright, slightly mischievous twinkle never leaves his eyes. You seem a bit less nervous, he observes as he strolls along beside me. Yeah, well, I would have been less nervous, if you guys hadn't popped into my cabin, but I accept why you had to do it that way. Anyway, your friend doesn't look ready to die on us anymore, so I'm feeling more optimistic. I wipe strands of sweaty hair out of my eyes and try to ignore the hum of mosquitoes as we cross the plaza. Inside Jake's cabin, the smell of disinfectant has finally overwhelmed the stink of fever, sweat, and infection. He moves slightly when I check his wound. That's good, he's starting to become responsive to stimuli. His fever is still high, but it's dropped half a degree since I last took his temperature. How's it going? Sebastian's soft voice is at my ear. His breath on my sweat-dampened skin sends an unexpected shock of pleasure through me. He's more responsive and his body is in less distress, plus the fever has dropped. Not out of the woods yet, though. I'll have to keep checking. I give a little sigh and turn to him. Gonna be a long night. Ah, that's too bad. His eyes twinkle dangerously. I had all sorts of suggestions for things we might do to pass the time. But my buddy's health comes first. I stare at him, my cheeks suddenly burning. What did you have in mind? I mumble as I start wrapping Jake's wound back up. The low chuckle at my side sets the hairs on the back of my neck prickling with excitement. You're shy, he teases softly. Maybe I am. I try to keep the defensiveness out of my voice and focus on taping fresh gauze. I'm sorry, did I offend you? His tone is even gentler, and I shoot him an awkward smile. I'll be fine. I hesitate. I'm just not used. How do I even say this to him? I think about Daniel, and about Sebastian, and about how I've never really flirted with someone I'm actually attracted to before. You're a statuesque, stunning redhead, and you're not used to being hit on, he asks with obvious surprise. I blush even harder, and that makes him chuckle again as I start to clean up my supplies. Really? I get hit on all the time. There's a difference, I say as we walk out together. He frowns and then walks ahead of me, turning to me and taking a few steps backward as I slow down. What difference? I take a huge breath, suddenly aware that I've never admitted my attraction to a man before either. Guess this is a night of firsts. Most of the time when guys hit on me, they're the wrong guys. And they do it with all the grace and thoughtfulness of half-drunk construction workers. He barks out a startled laugh. Oh. Wow. That has to be uncomfortable. But the other part of my comment didn't escape him, and after a moment, his smile gets even wickeder. Are you saying you would have taken me up on my suggestion then? Maybe. I mean, I don't know you that well. Besides, I'm not that experienced with romance. It's a huge admission. I've never admitted as much to anyone but Rosa. I look at him worriedly, concerned that he might think there's something wrong with me. Men have accused me of that before. What's wrong with you? You don't like men? What, you can't take a compliment? You should be flattered. Hey, I'm talking to you. Don't you dare walk away, or I'll make you pay for it. The drunk in question that night had ended up on his butt, and the bouncer had laughed at him the entire time he spent hauling him outside. But the humiliation of the encounter still stings whenever I think about it, and all the others. There wasn't just one man who'd asked me what was wrong with me, there were dozens. Each of them blamed me for the fact that they were vulgar, unpleasant, and unappealing. Are you frigid? I stare at Sebastian in the moonlight, and my stomach does a slow flip. He's beautiful, sensual, and so very charming. In fact, my only real issue is that I'm torn between him and both of his partners. I don't want to admit that to him though, I don't want to sound like a giant tramp, but it's so very true. His face softens. Oh well then. No wonder you're a bit shy. Don't worry, I'll behave. Mostly, anyway. He winks, and I stifle a giddy, ridiculous little giggle. My embarrassment over making such a stupid noise barely has time to register before he steps forward and kisses me. I feel his delicate touch on my jawline, just a brush, and then his warm, firm lips capture mine. I freeze for a moment, and then my body responds almost violently. I tremble, and my heart starts thundering. An electric shiver of pleasure runs through my whole body, starting from my lips, which are moving against his of their own volition. He makes a low sound of enjoyment in his throat, and then, after what feels simultaneously like an eternity and an instant, he pulls away. I almost chase his lips, the abrupt end to the pleasure making me ache a little inside. He's left me breathless, that lopsided smile on his lips telling me he knows exactly the effect he's had on me. Just think about it for later, all right? Once Jake pulls through. I blink at him and then just nod, unable to speak yet. My head is still whirling by the time we step back into the galley. I wash my hands again out of habit and sit down next to my sandwich, picking at it instead of trying to talk. Holy crap, that was nice, part of me keeps thinking, and the rest is too stunned to talk. His fever's starting to go down, Sebastian tells Daniel, who smiles in relief and looks over at me. Damn, am I glad we took a gamble on you, Alana. Seriously, I can't thank you enough. I nod and take another bite of my sandwich, occupying myself with eating so I don't have to speak yet. My heart hasn't stopped pounding and I'm still dizzy. As first kisses go, that one flattened me. It needed doing, I reply, which is my go-to when people ask me why I fight so damn hard for people's lives. I don't always manage to save them, but I always do my best. I'll be up most of the night monitoring him until I see a real improvement. Wow, damn. You want a refill on your egg cream? His hand covers mine, his eyes a little shy as he starts rubbing his thumb over my knuckles. Sebastian scoffs and Daniel shoots him a little half-glare. Oh damn, I think, worried about a sudden eruption of jealousy. But it doesn't happen. Sebastian's quite relaxed, and Daniel gives no sign of knowing what went down on our walk back to the galley. Maybe in a while. Right now, I just need more water to wash this sandwich down. Thanks though. I understand. He brings me ice water from the fridge, and I wonder how they're powering things up here. I didn't hear a generator. I sip it gratefully, adding that to the list of questions I have about their private island paradise. He's not likely to lose the leg at this rate, I explain. Or even end up with much of a limp. He will scar though, and there will be rehab. Not much I can do about that. You've already saved his life and his leg, dear, and certainly brightened our lives in the process, Sebastian says in a cheerful tone, and I blush again. Damn it, how does he keep doing this to me? Maybe I'm deluding myself, but I'm actually starting to feel glad that I came here. Yeah. Seriously. Actually, I was going to ask. My eyes widen slightly, and my head turns as Daniel continues. I was wondering if you'd consider sticking around for a few days, even after Jake starts feeling better? I look between him and Sebastian. Daniel looks at me with those earnest, hopeful eyes, and my heart sinks. Damn, now they're going to argue. I don't want to say no. I don't want to say no to either of them. My cheeks feel like they're going to burst into flames. But then I realized something. Sebastian just watched casually as Daniel flirted with me right in front of him, and he hadn't shown any signs of jealousy, even though he had just kissed me. I'll think about it, I say with a smile, and he beams at me. So does Sebastian, not sparing a single glance or glare for Daniel. What is going on with these guys?
Chapter 7. Jake.
Fever dreams are an absolute pain. I've had them twice now. The first time was in the aftermath of the event that earned me my Purple Heart. Right now, I have no idea what's going on or what happened. Did I get shot on duty again? Am I drunk? Why does my leg hurt? Where the hell is my wife? Blurry images with too bright colors wash past my eyes, making no sense. Sebastian and Daniel are staring down at me in concern. The man Daniel shot. The pirates. Did I get them all, or did they get me? Flashbacks from the past mix with recent memories. Is Maya alive or dead? Did we have her funeral already? Is the man who killed her dead yet? I punch him, knock out his teeth, and still, the fat redneck that shot her laughs at me drunkenly with a bloody mouth. So I hit him more and more and more until he doesn't laugh, and doesn't move. It doesn't help anything. I find that out too late. Even locked in my cell with her killer in his grave, Maya's absence gnaws at my insides. It's a hollow agony, like a missing organ. The courtroom, with its bland walls and red-orange linoleum floors. Maya loved interior design. She would have hated this room, I think vaguely, before my fevered mind sweeps the images along like a river. The pirates. Did we get them all? Did they get into the compound? They better not touch my record collection. A gunshot goes off, and my leg erupts in pain, and the pain is burning its way through my limb. I feel like I'm being shredded to the bone. The world starts to tilt back and forth violently. I groan and roll over, feeling something hanging onto my leg. Then suddenly, a red-haired angel puts her hand on my shoulder, and the world stops shifting. I wake up slowly to see my dim bedroom and an unfamiliar face. There's a woman with red hair and surgical gloves peering down at me with a syringe in her hand. Her eyes are brown and soft, and she looks damn good in a tank top. Unfortunately, I'm in no shape to enjoy the view. I'm actually feeling so wrung out from the mishmash of dreams that for a moment, I'm worried I'll look down below my left knee and see nothing there. Fortunately, I can feel my toes and even wiggle them a little. She must have gotten the bullet out. Why then am I such a mess? My mouth is desert dry, my head pounds, and it feels like there are heavy weights attached to every limb of my body. The hell? I rasp, and my throat's so sore I shut up right away. What the hell is going on? Don't try to talk, the woman says gently but firmly. She lays a cool cloth on my forehead and brings me a cup of ice chips. She puts one in my mouth, and I peer at her curiously. My name's Alana. I'm a nurse. Your friends showed up on my cruise ship and asked for my help, so here I am. And you, she pulls the blanket up so I can have a look at myself, are recovering from a really pernicious case of staph. I look down at my leg. Damn. The whole limb has a heavy, swollen feeling to it, and I'm surprised I was able to even move my toes. The bandaged wound is so sore it feels like someone sterilized it with fire. Staph. Damn, the wound went septic. And it must have done so fast, because I don't remember anything after that damn fight. MRSA. Must have been. Damn. You're going to scar, but the leg's okay, and you shouldn't lose any mobility. It'll take a while to heal, and I'll have to tend to you for a few more days. But you actually missed the worst of it. Her smile is dazzling. I stare at her for a moment, trying to make sense of all of this. She starts to unwind the bandage, and I look down, following the gentle movement of her hands. It's been a day and a half, she tells me as she unwinds the gauze. Your fever broke completely 6 hours ago. My eyes widen as I see the wound. It's red around the edges, not stitched yet, but packed instead with a strip of some cottony grayish-silver stuff that has turned brown where it touches the broken skin. She calmly washes around the wound, not disturbing the odd-looking packing, and then rewraps it. It looked a lot worse when I first got here, trust me. She pulled off her gloves, washed her hands, and then came back to feed me more ice chips. Finally, my parched throat stops hurting, and I cough into my fist. I notice the IV snaking from my arm. What did you put in me? Ringers, nutrients, antibiotics. Something to reduce your fever. You should be good to switch to oral meds and such in a few hours, but I have to get you fully rehydrated first. She walks over to my fridge to grab more ice chips, giving me a really good view of her incredible butt in a tight pair of khaki shorts. Damn, did the guys find me the prettiest nurse on the damn planet or what? Maybe they wanted to make sure I had the right encouragement to get better. I chuckle a little at my own joke and immediately grunt in pain. Ow. Do you remember anything? She asks as she brings me more ice chips. I take the cup a little unsteadily, but I manage it. Bad dreams. Was I delirious? I remember the image of her as an angel, coming to steady my furiously rocking bed. For a while. Not a very long while, but when I first got here you were in pretty bad shape. That's over though, now that the fever's broken. She looks at me firmly and I nod. I let out a rasping cough, and I stopped trying to say another word until I had more ice chips in me. How many painkillers do I have in me right now? I don't want to ask for more, but I sure could use them right now. You're about due, actually. Why, are you feeling it? Sorry about that, but I didn't want to leave you too sedated when you seemed to be trying to wake up. She goes for one of the boxes of medical supplies, cluttering up my desk. I feel like hell, but I'm not big on being impaired. I see her filling another syringe. Will that put me out? No, it may make you a little loopy, but that's it. How's your stomach? I do a quick internal inventory. Thirsty, rough throat, throbbing leg, and a hollow stomach. Empty. Any chance I could get something to eat soon? You're actually hungry. Her eyes widen. Damn. Well, that's a good sign, but we should probably take it slow. Not chicken soup slow. I ask, wincing. Pasta and meatballs slow, she says with a wink, and then sticks the syringe into the port. A few seconds later, I felt warmth spread outward from the crook of my elbow. All right, deal. Smiling makes my face hurt. My skin feels like it's been pulled and stretched to fit a larger body, especially on my leg. How are the guys doing? Sleeping, currently. It's 4 in the morning. You want me to go get them? I hesitate. What I really want right now is to keep talking to her, and keep being her center of attention as she bends that gorgeous body over mine. I like her already. Then she blinks and turns away, coughing into her fist. She seems to be having a fit of some sort, and I can't figure out what's wrong with her until I notice that there's a part of me that isn't feeling sick at all anymore. Wow, it's a good thing I wasn't naked with a catheter in or something. Sorry? I say with an awkward little grin. I'm not really all that sorry. After discovering that I almost died, little things, like my legs still being attached to my body and every part of it working properly, are very comforting. Don't apologize. You just woke up. If you weren't getting those, I'd be much more worried. She's blushing. Oh boy, is she blushing. And trying very hard not to look at the tent under the cover. I fight a grin. She's adorable. Wait, I got sick enough that my private part might have stopped working? Aw hell. I say with false panic, and she stifles a giggle. You'll be fine. It was only temporary, like the fever. She changes the cool towel on my forehead and turns on a fan. Was I the only one wounded? Daniel was probably okay, since he was with me when the fight at the gates ended. But what about Sebastian? Nothing worse than a few bruises. It could have been worse if not for you, as I understand it. Her brown eyes are so gentle as she looks at me that I feel a warm, floating sensation that definitely isn't a result of the illicit substances. It's thanks to all of us, I say almost reflexively. We work as a team. It's true enough. I might be the tank, but without Daniel's sabotage and Sebastian's shooting, we really would have been in trouble. That just makes her smile even bigger. Yeah, well, they risked arrest to get you a proper nurse. Yeah, we always have each other's backs, I reply quietly, and then wonder how much she knows. How much have the guys told you about us? I swallow uncomfortably, and she leaves my side to get me more ice. She can't set more than a cupful aside for me outside the freezer. It's just too damned hot. You'll be happy to know that whoever those pirates were, they've made no attempt to come back. She smooths the sweaty hair back from my face, then replaces the towel. Good. Damn idiots. Normally, the only pirate we have to deal with is a guy who delivers Herm while flying a Jolly Roger. Granted, I know Marcel actually is a pirate, but not around us. He's too smart. I guess all's well that ends well. And it did give me a chance to meet you guys. I just wish you hadn't had to get wounded for that to happen. That tender look again. It should feel weird to see such concern from a stranger, but somehow, it feels natural. Like I've known her for days. Months. I swallow hard, and then have to go back to the ice chips. I don't mind. It meant I got to wake up to your pretty face. That gets her. Her smile blooms as bright as her blush, and she looks away shyly. I grinned despite my discomfort. This is so fun. I'm glad to be back in the land of the living, in the present, not in my agony-filled past, when my freedom was gone and the pain of losing my wife was still fresh. Well, I'm flattered that you think so, Alana murmurs, cheeks pink and eyes bright. So, how did you meet the guys? I ask casually. I didn't know what to expect, but it definitely wasn't the answer she gave. I let the ice melt in the cup as I listened to her story of the last 2 days. She knows we're ex-cons. I don't know what kind of hell I looked like when the guys left to get help, but it must have been pretty bad for them to take a risk like that. However, I noticed something interesting. Aside from mentioning that it was a singles cruise that they plucked her off of, and the fact that she's a trauma nurse, she barely brings up anything about herself. I guess I owe you twice then, I say honestly. For helping me, and for trusting us enough so you could. It wasn't easy, she admits. But they brought photos of you and your wounds. She shrugs, looking as game as any soldier for a moment. Duty called. I'm glad you listened. The pain in my leg and throat is lessening, my skin feels less stretched. You go on cruises a lot? Nah, no money and no time. Also, I tan like a cherry. That makes me laugh myself into a coughing fit. Damn, maybe I should wait on the food. I sip ice water instead, easing my parched throat a little more, ignoring my growling stomach. Probably. You need help cleaning off? I bounce my eyebrows at her. You gonna give me a sponge bath? Well, unless you think you can stand for a shower. She's fidgeting and can't meet my eyes. Now and again, her gaze flicks over to the tent under my blanket, which shows no signs of folding, and she bites her lip. I'm willing to give it a shot, but what about my port and my leg? I try sitting up, moving gingerly. I feel a little dizzy, probably from the painkillers, but it isn't that difficult. We waterproof them. She grabs something that looks like a giant Ziploc bag with some kind of round, sealed ring where the zip should be. You shower off, change into your new clothes, and then we hook you back up for a while. How long? I hate IVs. I've only had to have them a few times, but nobody likes needles. Especially ones that have to stay stuck in your arm for a long time. Just until 8 this morning. Of course, once the port comes out, you're going to need to start with the pills. I snort. I'll manage. Help me to the bathroom. She nods and comes over to put the covers over the port and my foot. It's an awkward drag to the bathroom with me leaning on her heavily, while I hop along on one leg. My injured limb throbs less now, but it's still painful. The illicit substances help me detach from the pain more easily. So does the sweet jasmine scent of Alana's perfume. I breathe in deep as she helps me across the room and hands me a towel and my robe. As she turns away, I almost invite her in with me, but I'm in no shape right now for any games in the shower. The remnants of my favorite jeans feel like sandpaper against my skin as I peel them off. They fall stiffly to the tiled floor. Later, buddy. The most attractive nurse I have ever seen, who also happened to save my life and who blushes whenever I smile at her, can wait until I'm strong enough to really take care of her. The question is, can I?
Chapter 8. Alana.
Once Jake is showered, dressed in shorts, hydrated, fed, and tucked back into a freshly made bed, I watch him fall asleep just as the sun gets bright and hot outside. The portable air conditioner is humming in here now, giving him a little comfort during his sleep. My heart beats fast, and I feel like I'm floating a little off the floor. Not just because he's made it past the fever, and I've saved another life, but because he's wonderful. My smile slowly fades and my heart sinks. I sigh as I drink down a glass of water and settle my head. Crap. That means I'm walking around with 3 crushes on 3 very good friends, and all 3 guys seem to like me too. How the hell am I going to work through these feelings without letting their testosterone and jealousy get in the way? It bothers me. I came here to save a life. I didn't come here to stir up trouble between 3 guys who pretty much rely on each other to survive out here. I don't want to ruin their relationship. Should I just take off? No, Jake still needs me. I sigh and set the glass down. Well, this probably means I need to have an honest conversation with all 3 of them before anything bad can happen. I just have no idea where to begin. Determined to be brave about it, I leave Jake sleeping and walk outside to stretch my legs and get some air before it gets too hot. The compound smells of the surrounding greenery. The stink of smoke has finally blown away after more than a day. I haven't slept properly that entire time. My head feels hollow inside, like it's going to either float off my neck or crack like an eggshell. I need to ingest some food and fluids, and then retreat to my tiny guest house for some rest. I haven't seen the inside of it very much since I got here. It's a little hut, half underground and built of something called earthbigs with a coiled conical roof and blue and white tiling. A futon takes up most of the floor, with a dehumidifier, a fan and a lamp, making the place a bit more livable. I'm crossing the plaza toward the little rounded hut, when I hear a cheerful voice call out to me from nearby. I turn and see both Daniel and Sebastian, shirtless, both of them, coming in through the gate, Sebastian with a string of fish and Daniel with some mangoes. Good morning. Daniel approaches first, his expression bright. How's our boy doing? He woke up a few hours ago. I've been helping him get reoriented. He's napping now, but he should be able to have dinner with us tonight. I can't help but grin. Death 0. Alana and the hunky guys 1. It's short-lived though. I'm so new to this flirting world that seeing the other two after flirting with Jake sends a wave of guilt through me. I don't want to lead anyone on, but I can't help my blushes and obvious interest in any one of them. I should tell them. But what should I tell them? Hi, I know we just met, but I really can't decide which of the three of you I want to be with. Could you guys sort it out? Because I can't. You're all too awesome. I stifle a laugh. Damn, I'm ridiculous. And so is this situation. They both look happy and relieved that Jake has finally opened those gorgeous sea green eyes, and I feel the exact same. But I'm very surprised indeed when they both walk over and give me a hug. Suddenly, 2 pairs of arms are around me, and I'm being held against 2 sleek, hard bodies. I freeze, not sure what to do for a minute, and then hug them back awkwardly. I try to get them both within the circle of my arms, as my heart beats so fast it makes me dizzy. Surrounded by a double wall of warm, muscled flesh, my body melts between them in spite of my self-consciousness. Can't I just have all of you? I think greedily. When they let me go, I feel a little emptier, like something has been taken from me. But they're all smiles. Great job. Sebastian says. How long until he'll be up and around? He'll have to take it easy for a few weeks, but with his level of fitness and toughness, he won't need my constant care anymore once he wakes up today. I'll need to monitor him and give him meds for a few days, but that's it. I yawn hugely. Sorry. No problem, Daniel laughs. You eat yet? I try to remember, but I'm so sleep-deprived that I can't think. Am I hungry? I feel the slight queasiness that always comes with going too long without sleep. But if I crash with my blood sugar too low, I'll wake up feeling worse. I could eat, I say finally. And I could really use another one of those Alana sandwich hugs, because that was lovely. How are you guys doing? Well, we got in some repairs on the docks before it started getting too hot. That's why we were up early. Sebastian leads the way back over to the galley. As we near the galley, a small flock of multicolored parrots put up a clamor from the roof's edge. Hi guys. Daniel calls out and hands me the mangoes, so he can cut one up with his belt knife and start tossing pieces. You have pets? I ask in mild confusion. Sebastian chuckles as he opens the door for me. They just like us because we're friendly, have food, and don't hunt them. The fight scared them off for a day, but now they're back. You like 'em? I catch sight of a green tail and gray butt, wiggling over the edge above me, and step aside just in time to keep parrot poop from hitting my shoulder. They're cute but not housebroken. Sebastian rolls his eyes. Well, they are wild animals for you. At least he didn't start feeding any apex predators. Actually, I need to introduce you guys to my new pet crocodile. Daniel calls from behind us as Sebastian and I walk into the galley, and I'm stuck fighting down one of those stupid giggles again. These guys make me feel like I'm 15 again sometimes. Just giddy. I hope I can sort out all these complicated feelings with them somehow, because the more time I spend with them, the more eager I am to be rid of my V-card. It's like an itch deep inside, a constant irritation that keeps me in a perpetual state of achiness. Flirtation, one kiss, a hug from two men, it's done nothing but whet my appetite. I want it all. Intimacy, love, and experience, what Rosa keeps talking about when she mentions her partners. The power of this attraction leaves no room for logic in my head. I just don't have any experience with really wanting a man, and I don't know how to cope. I'm a little breathless as we walk inside. It's cooler than the outdoors already, and when Sebastian switches on the air conditioner, I actually stop sweating. I grab my water bottle out of the fridge and take it back to a seat at the table, draining it in careful swallows. So, Sebastian says without preamble as he sits across from me. Daniel already floated the idea of your staying a while longer. I chew my lip briefly as I try to focus past my exhaustion. I really do want to stay. I have a month off work, and I would rather spend it here than on that luxurious, frustrating waste of a cruise. I want to stay. But the cruise is going to notice that I'm missing if I'm gone too long. Daniel comes in laughing and goes to wash his hands. One of the parrots hops into the doorway a few feet, looks around hopefully, and then hops back out as the door slowly swings closed. Oh, that won't be a problem, Sebastian reassures at once. Parrot boy over there can change the details of your ticket in under an hour. It's not that uncommon for someone to want to stay put if a particular port appeals to them. What are we talking about? It's Daniel's turn to make sandwiches. He's using a Cuban sandwich press this time, chicken with cheese, peppers, and red onions. The smell makes my stomach growl. I'm trying to convince Alana to stay longer so we can seduce her. Sebastian cheerfully calls over to Daniel, just as I'm taking another sip of water. I let out a startled gurgle, and barely avoided coughing the whole mouthful out onto the tabletop. Sebastian snickers mischievously as I choke and flail for a napkin. Damn man. I wheeze, my whole face hot. Daniel stifles a laugh as he comes over to bring me more napkins. I'm sorry if Sebastian embarrassed you. He's a bit more overt than I am. He gives Sebastian a mild stink eye, which only makes him laugh more. You breathing all right? I'll be fine. Last time I checked, I can't blush to death. Damn. I take a breath. But I'm a little confused. You kinda said we. I heard that wrong, right? Yeah, he did. Daniel smiles cheerfully at me, and then steals Sebastian's straw hat as he walks by. Don't be mean. She's confused. I'm not being mean. The look on her face is just so funny. He wipes his eyes. I'll let you off the hook, sweetheart. The guys and I share everything. And everyone. He stares at me intently, that teasing smile back on his face, and I gasp for air as his meaning slowly sinks in. He's talking about the three of them sharing me. And me getting all three of them. I blink slowly, taking a few sips of water as I think about what they're saying. The possibility of actually getting what I want, all three of them, washes over me like a warm tide, and my knees squeeze together. My head whirls with confusion and excitement. Wow. Don't you guys ever get jealous? How do you deal with that in a situation like this? I can't just say okay and assume that everything is cool. Just because that's what they do, doesn't mean there isn't any built-in, screwed-up relationship drama in that arrangement. And that's the last thing I want right now. We talk about it if it comes up, and work out the problem together. That is from Sebastian. Suddenly, he doesn't sound so sarcastic. In fact, his tone has a touch of urgency, as if he's concerned that I might bail if they don't have contingencies like that. I'm sorry if it seems like an obvious question, but it matters. I'm attracted to all of you. Oh gosh, the skin on my face is going to burn off. And I didn't know how to handle it because I don't want to interfere with anything going on here. Sebastian and Daniel exchange glances, and Sebastian's smile widens as Daniel goes back to making the sandwiches. I'm glad to hear you thought about that. Even if I could look past someone's inconsiderateness for a weekend, I wouldn't inflict that on my partners. I nod, still stunned. I need to sleep on it, but if you don't mind walking through a complete newcomer, then I think I'd like to talk about it with you. Yeah. I nod my head and straighten my shoulders, glad that I was able to get those words out. And if there's some computer magic you can work to make sure I don't get in trouble with the cruise people, please do. That's the best I can articulate right now. I'm still half expecting that I'll wake up from a dream or be informed that I misheard them. Could they actually be cool with each of them being with me? And could they really do that without letting their jealousy and egos get in the way? Seriously, who are these guys? Daniel beams at me. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll just change your ticket to say you stayed behind in Jamaica. Is anyone expecting you at the end of the cruise? Just one friend. I have no idea what I'm going to tell Rosa about all of this. I really want to tell her everything, but what if I embarrass myself? Or her? After all, who in the world goes from being a woman who's never had intimacy straight into a potential foursome? It's okay, I say finally. I'll give her a call when the time comes and let her know what's up. Maybe I'll call her well ahead. I need someone to gush to, someone trustworthy. I just have to figure out how to bring it up without shocking her completely. You okay? Sebastian's hand settles on my shoulder. That soft, delicate touch from such a large, strong hand brings back that melting sensation. But I'm just too damned exhausted to appreciate it. Yeah, I just need a lot of sleep. Jake should be up soon. I only gave him enough painkillers to take the edge off. He wouldn't accept any more. I drain my water bottle and smile as Daniel comes over and sets our sandwiches in front of us. Just as long as we haven't overwhelmed you, Sebastian says, lifting an eyebrow as he looks me over. Your cheeks are almost an exact match with your hair color. And he winks. Don't mind me, I'm just adapting a little slowly. Do I even want to think about what Dad would think about this? Except I know, honestly. Dad would probably look each of these men in the eye and ask if they were going to treat me right, then shrug and change the subject once that was settled. And that should be my only concern. There's one more thing you should probably know before it comes up, Sebastian says quietly as he picks up his sandwich. The guys and I aren't exactly vanilla. In fact, we're all quite dominant. He takes a bite, his eyes twinkling. What exactly does that mean? I wonder later as I open the small arched door to my sleeping chamber and duck inside. Are they hardcore or do they just like being in control? I know almost nothing about BBSM except what I've seen of it in popular media, which is apparently 95% crap. What will they want? Whips and chains? I'm not sure I'm into being hurt. Held down maybe, but beaten? I can't really imagine any of them doing anything too crazy without my permission, but I am alone on an island with 3 of them and 1 of me. I think I can escape if it comes to that, and I still have the gun, but if they tie me up, that's it. Okay, I'll insist on taking that aspect slow along with everything else. They may want something entirely different from what I'm imagining. I peel off my clothes, still damp from my pre-nap shower, and toss on the pink bit of fluff and silk that I was wearing the night I met them. I deliberately brought it, remembering how Daniel and Sebastian's eyes had lit up upon seeing me in it. It had been wishful thinking at the time, but now this outfit might just see some serious action. And so may I. Damn. Am I ready for this? I want to be. The thought of it makes me needier than ever. The musky smell of my own arousal leaves me wide awake as I stretch out on the futon and pull the mosquito netting closed. When it comes to kink, what do I like? Do I even have any kinks? I have literally never thought about it before. I've had a hard enough time finding someone for halfway decent vanilla sex. I stare at the domed ceiling with its ring of skylights, watching the million stars shine through them. I'm still giddy, no matter how worried I am that I won't be up to the challenge. But I'm just crazy about all of my hosts, and I can't help but feel the excitement bubbling inside. Charming, mischievous Sebastian with his quick wit and soft hands. Kind-hearted Daniel, who loves animals and has dark eyes I could fall into. Big tough Jake, frustrated by his own injuries but gentle and tender with me. What would they be like as lovers? And what kind of love would they want? Would they come to me all at once? Take turns? Meet me at separate times? What does having 3 different men as lovers even look like? What does it feel like? I swallow hard, beads of sweat rising on my skin. I want to find out. I just pray that this fling doesn't come with complications, outside of them being convicts the way we met the pirates and all the rest of it anyway. I lie there for a long time before I finally fall asleep. Every movement makes the clinging silk of my nightgown brush teasingly against my body, and I don't know what to do about it.
Chapter 9. Daniel.
Hey buddy, how are you doing? I crowd into the doorway of Jake's cottage with Sebastian at my side, bearing a sports drink, root beer, and another sandwich. Jake is sitting up, the color in his face practically back to normal, and the rotten smell that permeated the air for half a day is entirely gone. His eyes get a predatory gleam in them at the sight of the sandwich. I'm starving. Ask me again after I down all of that. Sebastian follows me in, responding cheerfully, all right. I guess we don't have to ask if you feel like eating. Just bring the whole cow, man. I'll carve off a piece myself. I pass him the plate and bottles. He drains the sports drink in a few huge swallows, drinks half the root beer in a big gulp, and sighs, waiting with clear impatience for the fluids to settle before he begins to destroy his sandwich. He seems like a completely different man from the unconscious one 2 days ago, bored of his bed and his medications and ready to tackle life again. Sebastian sits in the desk chair, and I take Jake's recliner, talking while Jake chews on a big sandwich. Alana's finally sleeping after 2 nights of looking after you. She'll be up later so we can talk. Jake eyes Sebastian and then me and swallows. About what? He takes another enormous bite as he listens. About her staying here for a few extra days to fool around. With all 3 of us. She's digesting that and the Dom stuff as we speak. Sebastian winks and I scoff slightly and shake my head. Wait, so she's actually into all of us and she's down. Damn, now I feel even luckier. Jake grins. There's still a tired look to it, but he's definitely doing better after hearing the news. He takes another chomp, looking more and more thoughtful as he chews and swallows. How did she take the kink thing? Does she have any experience with being a sub? I don't want to scare her off. Actually, Sebastian taps his lip with a finger. According to her, she has very little experience in anything. In fact, if her reaction to being kissed is any indication, she might be completely untouched. Jake's eyes widen. I smile tightly. We'll have to move slowly with her, I warn gently. It's partly a warning to myself. We're all dominant partners, but between the 3 of us, I'm the one who tops the hardest. Sebastian makes jokes about how it's always the quiet ones, and it's true. I know I'll have to be very careful with dear, brave Alana. I look around at all 3 of them and grin slowly. I like the potential here, I comment, and both my friends nod enthusiastically. So, who approaches her first? Well, if we're drawing straws, you can leave me out because I'm not yet up to dominating anyone. You guys sort it out. Jake's smiling an awful lot more than usual. It's pretty nice to see him like that, especially after seeing him on the brink of death. And if I had not pulled that trigger, we would have buried him instead. I was still grappling with the reality of having killed another man. At least the nausea and guilt were already starting to subside, unlike the months I spent with them as my constant companions after the last time. The first time I'd gotten rid of a man, it had been inside, and it was the thing that got me sent to maximum security, where I met Jake and Sebastian. It had been just as necessary at that time too. The legal system doesn't care about self-defense though. Good prisoners just die quietly. They don't fight back. Once I realized just how insane that really was, I stopped feeling quite so guilty. I turned my mind quickly to a much better topic, intimacy, More specifically, intimacy with sweet, attractive, ridiculously competent Alana. I'm definitely interested in that. Okay then. I look at Sebastian and stop short. The look he's giving me is almost aggressive. Like he's already feeling territorial about Alana. That's not like him. I look back at him placidly. He already got Alana's first kiss, and I don't really feel the need to step aside for him just because he's feeling greedy. Something up? I ask him. Just wondering how we should go about this, he hedges. Well, I was going to suggest we introduce her to intimacy gradually, instead of arguing over who gets to be with her first. I see a flicker in his eyes and he looks down, the aggression leaving his expression. That should really be her choice anyway. Sebastian concedes that with a nod, while Jake quips, "Slow introduction sounds like a recipe for blue balls. You want that job, you've got it." I look at Sebastian. You want to flip a coin over who gets to make out with her first? Yeah, he says finally, just a touch of frustration set in his face. It leaves me feeling a little wary. Especially after I win the coin toss. Sebastian has always been the most promiscuous of all of us. Some of his conquests in the past had been too much for even me to contemplate. Whose wife the woman was, the timing, the risk. He's kind to the women, of course, but I still wonder how he's never been shot by an angry, jealous husband. Now, he's the one showing a touch of anger and jealousy. For a moment, I almost offer him my spot just to keep the damn peace. In the end, though, he's the one being unreasonable, so I decided to keep my mouth shut. We all came up with and agreed on these rules of conduct. He's the one who proposed most of them. If he doesn't like them now, he can deal with his own hypocrisy. If it gets worse, I'll talk to him about it. But right now, my mind is jumping forward to later tonight. Tonight, when I'll introduce dear Alana to some firsts of my own. The look in his eyes still bothers me though, and apparently I'm not the only one who noticed. When Sebastian heads down to the dock again to check the 2 remaining boats for damage in good daylight, Jake turns to me. "So is it me," he says thoughtfully, "or is Sebastian acting a little like he thinks we're moving in on his girlfriend?" I frown. It may not be that bad, but he definitely took losing the coin toss worse than he should have. I bring him a cold glass of water. He's been downing fluids like he's parched. I guess between the heat, that fever, and the blood loss, it shouldn't be a surprise. Okay, well, if it turns out to be a problem, we can give him a talking to. But I don't think it will be in the long run. Sebastian knows how to handle his business. If he gets jealous, I think he'll deal with it without it becoming a problem. I wince a little, but think about it. Sebastian's always been a stand-up guy in his dealings with us, but still. You sure? Look, he supplied the money to get this place so we could start our lives here. Because of him and your investments, we collectively are billionaires. If the guy is willing to share the wealth that he got jailed over, I figure he'll be okay with sticking to his promises when it comes to Alana. Jake drains his glass and then peers at it in frustration as if he's wondering why it's so small. I refill it for him. You're right. I should have more faith in my partner. But the doubt still nags at me hours later, after the sun sets and we eat dinner with Alana. Something about Sebastian's reaction here is different. I'm going to have to watch and see what happens.
Chapter 10. Alana.
I finally managed to get out of bed around sunset. My sleep schedule is completely messed up, but that's all right. Jake is alive and will soon have the use of his leg back, and I have 3 attractive guys interested in me. And they swore there would be no jealousy, that they would take care of it. I'm still just a little dubious about that last point. But I'm more than excited to give this a try. And not just because I want to be rid of my tedious V-card and learn what it's like to have a really good time with a partner I desire. I want these guys. I can't think of any men I have ever wanted more. Hell, before meeting them, this melting feeling, the ache in my cunt, the need to squeeze my thighs together, had simply never happened to me. They're already showing me so many new things, and they haven't even started trying. Up until now, all I've ever gotten from men is a lot of demands. Not offers, not enticements, not even kindness or tenderness. Just a lot of gimme that treasure baby, and you're not getting any younger, and 100 other lines of baloney. Talk like that always managed to cool my sex drive better than a splash of cold water. But now that I've found the right guys, I'm so ready to be touched that I'm impatient. My mind is on intimacy all through dinner. I torture myself with breathless curiosity for hours afterward, even as the men ring the plaza with citronella oil torches so we can watch Raiders of the Lost Ark on a projector screen without the distraction of bugs. As I change Jake's dressing again and everyone turns in for the night, I'm still thinking about intimacy. I had to wash the silk gown in water from a rainstorm, letting it hang up to flutter in the wind. It's still a little damp from all the humidity when I change into it, and the silk clings to my skin. Strange to be going to bed alone after thinking about, and even preparing for, intimacy all day. My thoughts haunt me still as I lie there trying to sleep. What does having a big O even feel like? How can something feel so good that it makes a woman scream as if she's in pain? I clench my knees together, frustrated that I've let my upbringing keep me from learning how to please myself. I'm just starting to wonder if I should try getting off on my own for the first time, when I hear a soft sound outside. I go still, listening, remembering the gun in my bag, but also remembering that I'm in a fortified compound on a remote island. Please let that be one of the guys, I think, as I lie there listening to footsteps crunching across the gravel toward my temporary home. Someone taps on my door. Hey! A familiar voice calls softly, and I sit up, smiling with relief as I recognize it. Daniel? It takes me a moment to shove aside the mosquito netting and crawl past it, hopping off the bed. I unlatch the door and pull it open for him. Toting a backpack and a big thermos that drips promisingly with condensation, he walks in and breezes past me. Hi there. He smiles in the light of the small battery-powered lantern, and the light gleams off his bare chest. He's in a pair of worn denim shorts and nothing else. I can't sleep, and your light was on, so I thought you'd like to share a drink. Of course. The view distracts me. He's leaner than the others, sleek instead of bulky like Jake, but his body is all tight muscle under smooth, lightly tanned skin. I can see the faintest trail of dark hair running down from his navel into the rope-belted button-downs, and I wonder what he'd look like without them obstructing my view. I brought homemade sangria and brownies. He holds up a sandwich bag in his other hand. Damn, you sure know the way to a girl's heart, don't you? I tease, and his sincere dark eyes narrow slightly, sending a shiver up my spine. They narrow even more as he notices that I'm in the nightie I was wearing that night he first met me. Just wear that outfit more often when I'm around, deal? Then we'll be even, he breathes, and I end up fighting a grin. You make me wish I'd packed more lingerie, I tease, and his slow smile is the kind that would be right at home on a dangerous predator. Too bad you're only here for a few days. I snort. Peeved, it's a 3-week cruise and I still have a week off work after that. The gleam in his eye intensifies. Oh, well in that case, we do get deliveries via a local friend every now and then. Sometimes, he brings in any special orders I put in online. You want to tempt me to stay longer by taking me lingerie shopping? I'm suddenly blushing so hard that I'm glad for the dim lighting. And toy shopping, he says in a slightly deeper voice. But only when you feel ready. I swallow hard. Okay. But what kind of toys? I mean, you guys mentioned that you're into dominance, but not how hardcore or anything. Are you fully into BBSM? I'm not sure that I want anything that would make me bleed. He scoffs, the sound reassuring me at once. Only amateurs try to go hardcore, with a complete newcomer to the scene. I don't want to scare you off. Neither do the guys. I hesitate. But we all have some things we like using in a scene or during intimacy. And there will probably be some of them that you'll particularly like too. Or new things you want to try. He reaches over and smooths my hair back, then confidently tugs off the ponytail holder, letting my braid loose. I feel it down to my toes when he runs his fingers through my hair. I don't even know where to begin, I admit and peek at him. What's one of your favorites? Blindfolds, he replies at once very casually. That doesn't seem too scary. Okay. Why? Well, I like them because I specialize in certain types of play that involve subtly controlling your levels of pleasure. The idea is to keep you right on the edge of peak for as long as possible, then let you go over. Usually. Now that gleam looks like a small inferno. When you ask nicely. How does the blindfold figure in? I'm trying to picture what he's talking about. A level of pleasure that would leave me begging. When you aren't distracted by your sense of sight, you can focus more on what your body is feeling. Some people even wear earplugs to deprive themselves of two senses, to narrow their focus further. Also, a lot of women find themselves less inhibited when they're either blindfolded or making love in the dark. I love to look at my lover, so a blindfold is a nice compromise. He shrugs and passes me a glass cup full of sangria. I drink gratefully as I think about what he's told me. I think I might be less shy if I couldn't see myself, I admit slowly. I have one here if you want to try it. I freeze with my lips on the rim of the cup at his cheerful statement. He's holding up a short length of padded black silk with a dent for my nose, and black ribbons on each end. What, did he bring that just in case? What else has he got in that backpack? My cheeks heat up as I look at the blindfold, and then I laugh awkwardly. Ask me again later. He winks. Okay. We end up cuddling on the futon, sitting up against the wall as we split the thermos of sangria and scarf down a dark chocolate brownie apiece. He smells like bay rum cologne, and his embrace is comforting and seductive all at once. He tells me about hacking NORAD when he was a teen, about the huge barbecue he and the boys had for their first meal on the island, and about having no family. I'd love to get some pets, he admits as he cradles me in one arm. I'm loose and relaxed from the wine, just enough to enjoy it without feeling out of control, and I nod lazily for him to go on. He smirks slightly. But you have to be careful about what kinds of animals you try to keep out here. Something might come by to try and eat it. Snakes, things like that. Maybe a big dog or two? They're always good company, and they could help you guard the place. I slide a hand shyly down his arm, feeling him shiver just a little in response. His reaction makes me feel a little braver. I smile and pet his bare back gently. The conversation runs out eventually as I relax, and we simply hold each other, Daniel stroking my hair. His long, slim fingers slip through my red curls, leaving me drowsy and my neck muscles loosening until my head settles into the cup of his palm. I wonder how far he wants to take things. I'm turned on and I trust him, but I'm not sure that I'm ready for something else yet. That might be ridiculous, but I'm still getting used to being touched, and I just don't want to rush things, no matter how insistent my starving body might be. I'm not sure I'd want to go for it with him if he tried to push the issue too much either. But he's not that kind of guy at all, and when he leans toward me, my lips tingle with eagerness. When he kisses me, it's less rough and teasing than Sebastian's, and there's no scratch of a beard. His lips caress mine, clinging and sliding as his hand cups the side of my jaw and the other pulls me closer against him. I'm glad you decided to stay, he murmurs, his voice gentle in my ear as we slide down the wall onto the futon together. Me too, I murmur breathlessly. He curls close to me, kissing me, and I let my head loll against the pillow, no longer caring much if we do end up together. He's pleasuring me slowly and gently. Have you ever done anything like this before? He asks as he coaxes me onto my back. I shake my head and his eyes light up. Let's just say that I'm really selective and leave it at that. No need to bring up how the confidence in that statement is an act. No need to bring up the other side of that. The loneliness, the frustration, the incredibly crappy luck, those are all behind me. Daniel is right here in my arms, and spending time thinking about my past just wastes good kissing time. So I seek out his mouth. A little while later. Finally, he collapsed as I did. I have to grab my towel to wipe myself down, but toss it aside to nestle in his arms. I lay my head on his chest and listen to his heartbeat slowly return to normal, and he starts stroking my hair again. "Good girl," he purrs. "You're such a fast learner. I'll have to remember to reward you some more later." When he recovers and makes good on his promise, he leaves me without even the strength to crawl under the blanket. As I drift off, more contented than I have ever felt, I feel him lay the blanket over me and get up, then close the mosquito net behind him.
Chapter 11. Alana.
I wake up to parrot screeches early the next morning, and open my eyes to see dawn light creeping across the sky outside the skylights. My whole body is so loose and relaxed that for long moments, I don't even realize that I'm naked under the light blanket. Then I roll over slightly, and see the pink silk laid open on the futon beside me. And I remember. "Oh my," I murmur, a laugh catching in my throat. "I've never been with anyone before. Daniel brought me most of the way across that bridge last night, and he..." Damn, I screamed my head off. I wonder if the other guys heard. That makes me blush all the way down to my cleavage. I look down at myself, at the creamy skin that last night needed to be wiped free of seed and sweat with a damp towel. I remember his mouth on that skin, and the burning pleasure that had built up in me and simmered for what felt like an eternity, until he finally let me explode. If I hadn't been smitten with Daniel before that amazing performance, I sure am now. The blindfold actually helped too. It's folded neatly on the pillow next to me, along with a bottle of water and another of Daniel's bomb-ass brownies, both of which I grab eagerly. The last time I had brownies this good, they were $10 a piece back in Miami. I should get up, have a shower, and go check on Jake. But I really don't want to move. Still, if I get up now, I won't be dealing with the full heat of the day for at least a few hours. I sit up, my muscles popping and my joints cracking from last night's unfamiliar exercise. So now I know what a big O feels like, sort of. I can remember the pleasure prior and the sweet lassitude after, but I can't recall the exact sensation. I get really turned on trying to remember. The feeling was simply too powerful for my mind to recreate it accurately. I want more. In fact, I can't wait to see what else these men have in store for me. The warm water of the shower feels good on my skin. I think of Daniel, and then catch myself with a little smile. Too much focus on any one man will definitely start making things complicated. I can't handle even a few weeks of that kind of drama. I'm new to intimacy and relationships. I refuse to put up with being fought over like a piece of meat. Not that these guys would be that uncouth and nasty. I don't think so, anyway. But the point is, I need to shift my focus to one of the others before I get too fixated on one. I'm going to see Jake anyway, so that's not going to be difficult. I make him up a hearty, high-protein breakfast of steak and eggs, and bring it with me on a tray as I head to his cottage. When I push my way inside, Jake is reading Jonathan Livingston Seagull while the Rolling Stones play through a speaker attached to his phone. "Hey." I call out, and he looks up and smiles. "Hey, it's my favorite nurse, and you brought food." "Damn, girl." He holds his hands out for the plate the moment he smells steak, and I laugh and carry the tray over. I have never met anyone who has recovered as fast as Jake, who is currently healing. The antibiotics alone should have killed his appetite. Instead, he cuts himself a hunk of steak and tears into it like he could eat 3 more without blinking. "You sleep okay?" he asks between bites. I sit in the chair by his bed and let him eat, not wanting to tend to his injured leg while he's filling his stomach. There's nothing like an open wound to kill an appetite. "Yeah, I just did it all at the wrong times, until around dawn. That's okay though. I'm guessing there isn't exactly a set wake-up time around here." He laughs and shakes his head, and I smile. "Didn't think so." "Nah, we left mandatory wake-up times behind when we left Rikers Island." He gets a dark look in his gorgeous eyes for a moment. "How much have the guys told you?" "Not much about the prison stuff. I mean, I know about it. They haven't hidden anything, but they didn't go into much detail. I've been too busy to ask about it. I was too busy and exhausted, and it hadn't even occurred to me to ask Daniel last night. I'd had other things on my mind. Well, there's not much to tell. I killed the guy who shot my wife during a robbery. Daniel hacked some places he shouldn't have, got caught, and then killed a guy in self-defense while he was inside. Sebastian slept with a rich guy's wife and stole his money, so he got framed for a murder he didn't commit and was sent to the island too. His eyes search my face as this sinks in. They're less innocent than my father, and yet they aren't monsters either. I wonder again what Rosa would think of them. I'm already too biased to care anyway. I take a deep breath and tell him the truth. My dad was imprisoned because we sheltered a dirty cop's wife from him when the man was drunk and beating her. He knew the best way to punish us was to take away Dad, so he framed him for the beating. If I'm supposed to understand that your life isn't safe and you can't go back to the States because you broke the law, I do. If I'm supposed to think less of you because you're all convicts, I don't. I already know how unjust our justice system is, and as long as all that is firmly in the past, I don't care that you were inside or that you escaped. That's maybe an exaggeration. I have a huge crush on all of them, and I know I'm taking another leap of faith by agreeing to stay with them longer and be their lover. But I'm aware that I'm making that leap, and now Jake is too. He shakes his head, smiling, and takes another huge bite of steak. You're amazing, he says in a low, wondering voice filled with all the warmth in the world. Though I'm sorry to hear about your dad. Yeah, well, the people who owe the apology will never make it, just like they'll never be punished for what they did. I'd love to send a fire-breathing lawyer after that cop's ass, but that won't be happening on a nurse's salary. He looks very thoughtful as he eats his eggs. What if you had the money to go after that guy? I look at Jake sharply. Oh hell, then I'd be torn between using the legal route or just going straight to the press. That dirty cop needs to pay. I can't even remember his name right now, shamefully. It's like I hate him so much that my mind won't hold on to any clear memories of him. Yeah, I can sympathize. We're supposed to think that only the best guys go into law enforcement. But that's baloney. You can find rotten people in any profession, and cops have too much power and too little accountability. I think about that as he finishes cleaning his plate. These aren't the words of a bitter convict. They're the words of a man who, like my father, has suffered a terrible injustice. He may have killed a man, but why hadn't the police done their job and taken that man, a murderer of an innocent woman, off the streets? Maybe we should shift subjects, I say quietly as I take his plate and hand him a fresh sports drink from my bag. I don't think either of us will end up very happy if we dwell on this for too long. He laughs as he opens the bottle and then downs half its contents in one go. Good point. So, you here to check the leg? Yeah, and then it's time for pills. He groans and I stifle a laugh. Sorry. His wound is healing fast, faster than I would ever have expected when I cut the stitches the first time and saw the mess inside. I have no doubt now that it was MRSA, or closely related. Thank God that the antibiotic protocol and silver wound dressing did their work. Looks like the infection's on its way out. The necrosis is gone, the dead tissue is sloughing off, and the wound bed's a normal pink. I have to repack the wound instead of stitching it up just yet, since it needs to heal inside first. I gingerly remove the old dressing and clean out the wound, then pack it with fresh silver foam and wrap it up. How much pain are you feeling? Barely any compared to how I was before you got here. I still don't think I should be putting my weight on it. He wiggles his toes and flexes his foot experimentally. Yeah, you're right about that. Once you are up, the crutch is gonna be mandatory for at least a few weeks. Sorry. I finish cleaning him up and refill his bottle with water. Sounded like you were having fun last night, he comments casually, and I spill water over my hand. Why yeah, I manage to admit, cheeks prickling. I look back at him and see his teeth flash in a feral grin. I'd be jealous, but Daniel had volunteered to introduce you to things. I couldn't have been that patient. I think I'd lose it if I kissed you but didn't get to sleep with you. I'm still blushing, but the note of desperation in his voice makes me smile. I let out a laugh suddenly, turning even redder, and Jake tilted his head slightly like a curious dog. "What's up?" "Oh, just wondering how I could take advantage of your current condition. What about you being relatively helpless in bed?" I reply with all the boldness I can muster. His eyes widen. "Well, damn," he says with an incredulous smile. "Do your worst."
Chapter 12. Alana.
"You know, when it came to you, I was ready to bow out until I was back on my feet," Jake muses as he looks up at me. His eyes dance with amusement. "Kinda hard to do everything I've been thinking about doing to you with one bum leg." "That's all right. I don't mind doing most of the work." My attempts at flirting sound clumsy to me, but his eyebrows rise and he flashes a grin. "Wow. Well, I'm sure as hell not complaining." But then he gives me another of those curious looks. "You sure you want to play around? You can bow out if you're nervous." "That's the thing, Jake," I murmur as I move toward him, trying to ignore the butterflies in my stomach. "I'm gonna be nervous anyway. So we might as well have some fun." Damn, what am I doing? I don't know if I can keep pretending to be this confident. I kick off my sandals and bend over him, trying to ignore how my knees quake a little below the hem of my denim skirt. His bright, feral eyes light up as I pull the blanket away from him completely, his belly flexing intriguingly with his growing excitement. A deep animal shudder runs through his muscular frame, and he sucks in a breath when I run my hands up his powerful chest. "Can't really argue with that," he breathes, his big hands sliding up my arms and then wandering to my nape. His kiss is less commanding than Sebastian's but more tender than Daniel's, almost as if he's worried about breaking me with his strength. I return the kiss more roughly, encouraging him, and he tightens his grip on me and sinks deeper into the kiss. His mouth tastes of steak, spices, and mint. He pulls the ponytail holder free, and I shake out my hair as I clamber onto his thighs and straddle them. He sits up, runs his hands through my hair, then grips my scalp gently and tilts my head backward. I let out a long sigh, relaxing into his hands as he starts to kiss my neck. The scratch of his stubble, his musky smell, those thick-fingered workman's hands that hold so much strength yet touch me so gently, the low rumble of his voice in my ear, all of them work together to ease my nervousness away. Relaxed, I smile and roll my head to the side, offering my pulse to his eager lips. He marks me with his mouth, adding the tiniest edge of pain to the pleasure that rolls through me as he caresses my body. I don't know why I chose him over the others. Maybe it's because he can't move so well right now. It's more than that, though. Normally, the idea of being intimate with a patient would scare me off. It would be a violation of so many ethical standards. But right here, right now, on this island of outlaws, mostly what I'm thinking is, screw the rules. Jake almost died. I saved him. With his sweetness toward me contrasting so starkly with all I've learned about him, I can't help but think that, of all of them, he seems to have the biggest crush on me. I think briefly about Sebastian, who got my first kiss, but he can wait his turn. We have plenty of time. I try to imagine the three of them prowling the decks of my abandoned cruise ship, easily eclipsing my baker's dozen of inadequate or inappropriate men and every other person on that ship. They could have their pick of women, and yet here they are, choosing me. Just thinking about it makes me a little light-headed. Jake's lips quirk with amusement. "Planning on giving me a thermometer, nurse? Or should I give you one?" I laugh in embarrassment as he nuzzles my throat, and I run my hands through his mussed hair. "You're terrible." His eyes twinkle. "You didn't answer my question, gorgeous." "Well, no one's taken my temperature yet, so you'd have to be careful," I tease, and his eyes light up. "I'm always careful." He is. His touch is firm but tender, always moderating his strength just enough so I can feel it but holding back enough so I'm not hurt by it. The muscles in his arms and back flex as I squirm on his lap and caress him, but he still restrains himself from making any sound. Last night, I learned that I love it when a man makes sounds because of something I've done. But Jake seems determined to be silent. shortly after. "You okay, sweetheart?" he asks hoarsely as soon as he can speak. I smile and nod, leaning over to kiss him. Perfect. I'm even more weak-limbed than after I played with Daniel, but I manage to climb off of him after a few breathless moments, grab a tissue, and clean myself. He lays back, eyes heavy-lidded and satisfied, as I turn to toss the wad into the trash. Only then do I notice the door sliding slowly closed. I freeze. Did someone walk in on us? But I don't hear any footsteps, and no one says anything. After a moment, I shrug and go back to the bed to nestle in Jake's arms.
Chapter 13. Sebastian.
I walk away from Jake's hut as fast as I can, teeth gritted and fists clenched at my sides. There's no reason for this jealousy. I have no right. But the rage still bubbles through me, blind to all logic. The sight of Alana being with Jake's for the very first time was almost too much for me. I know it's stupid. I know that it's ridiculous to feel this way. So I use the last of my willpower to walk away, knowing it's the right thing to do but hating every single step. Screw you, Jake. It was my turn with her, not yours. Mine. But again, I'm being ridiculous. Alana is not a possession we're passing around, and in the end, it's she who gets to decide, and she clearly makes her decision. And in the end, what I'm actually jealous about is that she didn't choose me. I make my way down the path to the beach, having forgotten what I even went to Jake's hut for in the first place. All I can think of right now is the show I just walked in on, so much so that I walk too fast and almost lose my footing on the wet foliage lining the path. Once or twice I almost turn back, and then realize how stupid that is, and keep walking forward instead. The burned scraps of the boathouse have been piled together down at the beach, leaving only the charred posts sticking out of the corners of the foundation. I get my toolbox out of the fuel depot and grab my claw hammer, then start using it to strip the char away. Damn, I keep thinking as I tear away more layers of blackened wood. I realize that I'm not jealous because I want her all to myself. I'm jealous because she seems to like the others better than me. Yet you put up no argument about letting Daniel go to her last night because you didn't have the patience to please her for the first time without pushing things toward intimacy. He practically offered outright to give up his turn, but you wanted to be with her instead. The thought stopped my arm mid-swing and I sighed, lowering it. Some of my anger drains away as I realize just how ridiculous I'm being. There's no competition here, no prize for being first. And if I want some serious private time with Alana, I need to arrange it, just like Daniel did. Jake just got lucky. That's literally all it is. Time to calm down and remember the rules we all decided on together. We came up with those rules to avoid these kinds of feelings. Instead of brooding as I work to cut away the char and salvage the post bases, I start planning. Eventually, my plans clear my head of all signs of anger and jealousy and fill it with gleeful anticipation instead. If I'm feeling competitive, and I clearly am, then I'm using it in the wrong way. Instead of worrying about who drew the short straw or who she slept with first. Once I'm done with cutting the posts down and pulling out one entirely since the damn thing is charred down to the core, I go back to my cabin and head straight for my toy chest. It's an old army footlocker, one of the few old possessions I brought with me from the mainland. Mostly because at the time, it had been stuffed full of cash and gold coins. Now it's got treasures of another sort. I open the lid and look down at the collection speculatively. Where to start? I grab an empty gear bag from a hook off the wall, then start by throwing in a handful of rubbers and a bottle of lube. Can't forget those. My toy box holds various toys that I've gathered from all around the world. I consider the harder items, lengths of hemp rope, paddles, and whips. No. There will be no bruising on Alana's tender skin, not unless she begs for it. I choose half a dozen items that are more beginner-friendly and pack them into the bag. Tonight, I'm going to be the one to knock on Alana's door, and she's going to love what I have in store for her. "Where are we going?" she asks me after dinner as I lead her along the path that winds down the other side of the hill. The island has a tiny hidden valley at its center, remnants of a caldera surrounding a small lake. "It's a surprise," I tell her cheerfully as I hold her small warm hand in mine. She nods, giving me a trusting smile, but one of her eyebrows is quirked, telling me that I've piqued her curiosity. We walk slowly, more of a meander than a hike, both our bellies contentedly full. Jake had made burgers for everyone, hobbling around on one leg and sitting down a lot, but still insisting that he take his turn. It made me a touch less irritated with him. More than Jake's helpful cooking, the thing that has eased my anger the most was anticipating this. We hike down the hill slowly, led by the glow of torches. I've made sure to set the citronella lights ahead of time, not just for the romantic glow, but because poor Alana seems to be candy for mosquitoes. When we reach the campsite, I sit up at the lake, and she turns wide eyes at me. I can't help but smile. "Do you like it?" Normally, my idea of camping out involves no more than a small canvas tent and a bedroll. But what I've set up for her isn't a tent. It's a seraglio. "Damn," she murmurs, moving one of the spare mattresses down the hill and putting it inside the big canvas tent, dressing it up with nice bedding and fairy lights, and veiling it with mosquito netting. All that work was definitely worth the effort, just for the look on her face. "How long did it take you to do all this?" "Not long. It took 2 damn hours." "I don't care." As she steps forward to look over my handiwork, I'm struck by the memory of the last time I fell in love. It had to be 15 years ago. While working on A Billionaire's Wife in my usual style, I fell for her soft-eyed, beautiful blonde daughter, Emily. I took her first in a tent like this. We parted on good terms, but we parted nonetheless. Emily went to Paris with her newly divorced mother, and I moved on to New Orleans to spend and hide some of her now estranged father's fortune. But that first night with Emily, I recall, I felt exactly what I feel now, that tight mix of anticipation and worry clenching my belly as I wait for her opinion. This girl matters to me. It scares me a little how much power she has over me. When she turns back to me, my gut tightens further, but I keep my gentle smile pasted on my face and wait. "I love it," she declares, one eyebrow lifting. "But it does kinda make me wonder what you have planned." I laugh, the tension finally easing away inside me. "You'll see."
Chapter 14. Alana.
He made me a love nest. Damn. These guys. Every last one of them is amazing. I look around at the gorgeous tent, the fruit and wine set up on a low table beside the mattress, the gallon of water, and the mysterious bag sitting stuffed full beside them. Do I really have to leave this island? I don't think I want to. No, I know I don't. I want to stay here forever with these 3 amazing guys, sleep in, eat good food, watch movies under the stars, and hike through the jungle. I want to wake up to their faces. I think I'm falling in love with all of them. You really didn't have to do all this, I say as I kick off my sandals and step inside. He's lined the floor of the canvas tent with a genuine damn Persian carpet. It feels like heaven on my bare feet. I wanted to. Felt like doing something to, really get your attention. I hear a thump as he sheds his sandals, and soon he comes up behind me, running a warm palm down my back through the gauze of my blouse. Oh man. Twice in one day, and on my first day being with someone. Am I ready for this? I look back at him over my shoulder. He's smiling, his eyes dancing with seductive glee, and that smile turns the simmering afterglow from my time with Jake into a blazing fire, turning me on all over again. This time I kiss him first. He freezes for just a moment, as if startled by my enthusiasm. But the guy deserves it. I know when someone's gone all out. You spoil me, I say. Get used to it, he replies as he folds me in his arms as if he can read my mind. His kiss teases me, drawing me out, and I nestle against his chest and run my fingers up his shoulders. I hum happily against his mouth, and fight off disappointment when he breaks the kiss and lets me go. Come on, I have another surprise for you, he purrs, effortlessly suave as usual, as he sits down on the mattress and drags the bag over. Would you like some wine? I'm too curious about the bag. Surprise first, wine second, I declare, eyes fixed on it as he smiles and pulls the bag into his lap. Certainly. I do hope you don't shock easily. He winks, and I really start to wonder. I'm a nurse who's worked in a public hospital for the better part of a decade. I had to pull some poor kid's plastic pony collection out of her dad once. I give him my best stern nurse look, and he chuckles. Okay. I know you're a newcomer at adult play, but you've clearly seen some things. How long did it take to extract them all? 2 hours and a lot of lube, I deadpan. He shakes his head, and I wrinkle my nose and grin at him. Okay, he groans finally. I guess you're ready for at least a few of the more advanced toys. I go quiet, feeling a little worried suddenly as he unzips the bag. What in the world has he brought? Nothing painful, I hope? Not really. Playing with different sensations can provide a lovely contrast, but that doesn't mean I'm going to pull out a bullwhip on our first go. Sebastian's eyes twinkle, and I smile a bit wider, relaxing. I'm in good hands. How did I get so lucky to meet these men who have been nothing but kind to me? They're honorable, loyal, and they keep their word too. How ironic that the only other man who ever cared about me this much was a convict too, just like these guys. Is something the matter? He asks gently with the bag zipper half undone. No, just wondering how I got lucky enough to meet you guys. I don't mention my dad, that seems like a bit of a mood killer, considering he's unzipping a bag full of toys. Believe me, I feel lucky too. And I know Daniel and Jake do, they'd have to be complete idiots not to. For a moment, the gleam in his eye takes a darker cast, leaving me wondering. In fact, they're especially fortunate that I'm not greedier. Otherwise I'd want to steal you for myself. I smile awkwardly, a tiny warning bell going off in the back of my head. I know his comment is supposed to be flattery, and nothing more. But I also know where that line of thinking leads. Competition. Jealousy. Betrayal. Enough drama to turn this idyll into a hell that'd be even worse than a boring old cruise. I can't let that happen. That's very sweet, I say gently, but I don't want to be responsible for any problems between you and the others. I make sure to put a little steel behind my words. There will be no shenanigans. His smile gets a little tight, but he nods and finishes unzipping the bag. Yes, well, we're still going to compete for your attention a little. And the healthy way to do that is through enticement. I step in front of him, and my eyes widen as I look into the bag. They alight first on a clear case at the top of the pile. Inside is a pair of small leather-padded contraptions held shut by a broad-wheeled screw, its chrome bits set with small multicolored jewels. What in the world are those? Private clamps. I got them in Paris. Would you like a look at them? He reaches past me, his fingertips brushing my arm, and retrieves the case, opening it for me. I peer down at the clamps a little dubiously, feeling my body tighten in curiosity even as I suppress the urge to cover them with my hands. Do they hurt? I ask tentatively, my bravado gone. Not unless you want them to. They're a pressure toy. The padding helps protect you from any real harm, and you can decide how tight or loose they go. He sets one in my hand, it's surprisingly light. They're a good replacement for a pair of fingers when the fingers need to be elsewhere. I squeeze my knees together at the implications, and something in my expression makes him snicker. What else is in there? He pulls out a length of fat dark blue silk rope, a blindfold, different from Daniel's, a pair of cuffs lined with fur, and a strange fuzzy thing that I realize after a moment is some kind of glove. He notices my curiosity and slips it on, wiggling his fingers inside the mitt. This little beauty is for sensation play, which is my favorite. It offers both pleasure and pain. Would you like a demonstration? Not sure about the pain part, I admit. I feel something strange just beneath the surface of the silky fluff. I frown and put a little more pressure on myself. There's something sharp beneath the fluff, like the claws of a kitten hiding in a velvet paw. What's this? I can only feel the sharpness if I rub it in one direction. Sensation mitt. Pure fur on one side, and tiny little spikes just beneath the fur on the other side. They can't break the skin, but you can feel them plenty depending on how much pressure I use. He takes the mitt and runs it down my arm to demonstrate. I gasp. The silky feel of the fur is somehow enhanced by the light scratch of the spikes. It isn't even painful, just the slightest sensation of sharpness like a warning. It makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. The sensation changes depending on how I use it. He strokes his hand up my arm, this time twisting it so that first the sharp side and then the soft slide against my skin. His grip is a little firmer, this time the tiny spikes sting a little. How is that? A little strong. I'm afraid I don't have much of a pain tolerance. I give him a sheepish smile, and he kisses my hand, removing the glove. That's all right. I'm just seeing what appeals to you. Next, he brings out a smallish velvet bag. The fur is nice. The sharp stuff, not so much. What else do you have? I'm starting to feel more eager and curious, my apprehension quickly melting away. Massage oils, a variety of ticklers and bindings, a few small toys. And protection, of course. Do you have any experience? Just with the blindfold and rubbers. Where did you learn to use all this stuff? I ask wonderingly. He pauses, seeming to consider something, then laughs. I used to run an online toy boutique as a cover for my activities. I learned a lot, and I played a lot. And I introduced a lot of bored, wealthy housewives to things that shocked their husbands. His lopsided smile becomes a naughty grin. Do you miss it? I ask as he takes my hand and leads me to the mattress. We lie back, and he idly takes the feather wand in his hand. No. In the end, I was just repeating the same act of revenge over and over again. He reaches over and uncorks the wine, before pulling out a pair of glasses from the bag. I'm sorry? As turned on as I'm getting, I'm intrigued by his past. There are a lot of very rich men in the world that absolutely deserve to be despised. They're ruining the world for their own gain. My own father was no exception. He used my mother, and went back to dating blondes a quarter his own age as soon as he was done with her. But once he was gone and I'd had my revenge, that should have been it. I was already rich, he sighs as he passes me a glass. I should have stopped there. But on the other hand, if I had, I wouldn't have met Daniel and Jake. Or you, for that matter. So it's a trade-off? I frown thoughtfully over the rim of my glass. The wine is delightfully cool and crisp on my tongue. I suppose it is. I sip my drink as he rubs my back and starts lightly running the feathers over my shoulders and the back of my neck. The sensation makes me shiver, but my mind is stuck on what he said. 11 years of loneliness, dealing with some of the most disgusting men ever, and searching for someone who could make me happy. Could it all have been worth it, simply because it got me here? Is this where I was meant to be all along? I'm being silly. I'm smitten. I'm dealing with a ton of new relationship energy, and it's very hard to remember sometimes that I have only been here a few days. It's also getting hard to think about having to leave in a few weeks. I'm really not sure that I want to. But it's too soon to think like that. I still don't know if this will work out. Sebastian's tiny red flag makes me nervous about that. Can a relationship like this really work long-term?
Chapter 15. Alana.
Maybe it's better to accept that what happened was just part of the journey to get to where you are now. I'm thinking I have to do a bit of that right now myself, I admit, and then make a soft sound of pleasure as he moves up behind me to kiss the back of my neck. You have a point. He downs his glass of wine and sets the glass aside, taking my own empty glass before he starts kissing me again. Where Daniel was affectionate and determined to spoil me, and Jake was all eager roughness tempered with tenderness, Sebastian is subtle. There's something ephemeral in the way he moves his hands over me, transitioning so smoothly from petting me to doing other things. He rubs the oil over my skin, his oil-softened palms rubbing back and forth over my body. When it's all rubbed in, my skin feels warm and tingly. He leaves sensitized, stinging spots all the way up my spine as he climbs over me. My world flies apart seconds later. A little while later, I wake up to him kissing the back of my neck again, and we're curled up on the mattress with him spooned against my back. I murmur and roll over to look at him. He's smiling and relaxed, his hair mussed. He props his cheek on one elbow and gazes at me. Did you like that? Very much, I murmur. I'm a little surprised by how much I loved it all, especially the clamps. Good, he says and yawns loudly. Now let's get some sleep. I suppose you're back to playing nurse tomorrow. Bright and early, I sigh. A nurse's job is never done. But in this place, the perks make it absolutely worth it.
Chapter 16. Jake.
I want her to stay, Sebastian says suddenly as we're rebuilding the beach house. It's been a week and a half since Alana walked into our lives, and I absolutely have to agree. Damn straight, I say as I finish bolting one of the new posts onto the remains of the old one. Next to me, Daniel nods enthusiastically as he takes a cut length of post that Sebastian hands him. She's good for all of us, Daniel agrees. She's just as into each of us as we are her. She's not playing any games, and she speaks up when there's a problem. Do you think she'll do it, though? Sebastian pauses as he works the chop saw to cut the third post extension. The fourth has to be pounded in whole. Give up her job and her life on the mainland to be with us. It's one thing to play at this lifestyle for a couple weeks, it's a whole other thing to actually live it. The tiny note of worry and doubt in his voice is the most vulnerable emotion I've ever seen from him, and it touches off the same feelings in me. I bite back my own doubts though and smile broadly. With the right incentives, I figure we've got a good chance. Especially if we can give her a better life here than the one she had back in Miami. It's been an amazing 10 days. I'm still forced to use a crutch, but my leg only hurts now if I pull at the stitches or put too much weight on it. All signs of infection are gone, and though I'm stuck using that nasty-smelling soap for 6 months, I might not even scar. And every few days, at least, I have Alana in my arms. The guys and I aren't competing for her attention, but we are competing for who can make her scream the loudest in the sack. So far Daniel is ahead by a hair. I'm not jealous. But sometimes, I still wonder about Sebastian. Let's ask her, Daniel proposes. Sebastian looks a little worried but finally nods, as do I. But how? Sebastian asks. There's the question. If we all ask her together, she'll feel put on the spot. If we broach the topic when we're alone with her, desire might distract us. We have to find a way to put her at ease, and make the invitation compelling enough that there's no way she'll say no. Let's plan a party, Sebastian says. Daniel looks enthused. I grunt and scratch the back of my neck. I'm not a big party guy. Give me some beers, some steaks, some music, and I'm good. All right, fine, let's do a barbecue, I grumble. Let's order some good meat and pay Marcel to pick up the party fixings. When's his next visit? Week from Friday, Daniel says as he braces the post against its new base and tightens the metal bands to hold it steady. Barbecue's fine with me. Sebastian snorts. What sort of wine goes with a barbecue? Snob, I tease and he laughs. When it gets too hot to work, we break for lunch and siesta, but I'm still thinking about our plan. I go to visit Alana. She's been inventorying all the medical supplies and fixing up our storeroom while we've been making the boathouse. I open the door a little awkwardly, and come limping in on my crutch to see her luscious butt sticking out as she bends over one of our chest freezers. Damn. Great view in here, I call out, and she laughs and straightens up, smoothing her denim skirt. I love that skirt on her, and not just because that's what she was wearing when she was with me for the first time. How's the boathouse coming along? She asks. I have something resembling an inventory. You guys actually have more stuff than you thought. Good. If we get hit with a hurricane, we'll need food and fuel stores for at least 3 weeks, and it's better to have twice that. Sometimes the Caribbean gets 2, 3 in a row. I hobble over to her and she meets me halfway, kissing me warmly. Even with layers of cloth between us, it's intoxicating. When the kiss breaks, I look down at her and the question rises in my head again. The others want the setting to be right when we approach her. I'll go for that, but I at least want to know what we're going to be up against if it comes to us having to convince her. Do you like it here? I ask while she's still in my arms. She thinks about it, but not for long. I take that as a good sign. Yeah. I'm happy here. And not just because the only patient I have to look after is you. You got much of a life back in Miami. Damn, am I asking too much? Do I sound too eager? I'm careful not to let my worries show on my face. Just the job, a small apartment, and a few friends. The friends are really all I'd miss if I never went back. She's watching my expression carefully. She's smart. Of course, she can already tell that something's up. What if they could visit? I venture, and at that, she clues in and gives me a lopsided, slightly teasing smile. Why, Jake, are you thinking about keeping me? I grin and duck my head slightly. She's the only woman alive who can make me feel this embarrassed and happy at the same time. Yeah, the guys and I are all thinking about it. You gotta act surprised when we all ask you together, okay? She beams. Okay. Later that night, I try not to eavesdrop as she gushes into her phone. Daniel taught her how to link to the island's cellular network, and as far as I know, this is her first phone call since coming here. Someone named Rosa in Miami. From the sound of it, Rosa's a very good friend. Yeah, it's great. It's not Jamaica, but come on. A private island, 3 rich single owners with good taste in beer, and all I have to do is tend one guy's leg wound. She pauses as she leans against the outside wall of my cottage, right next to the open door. No, it was definitely MRSA. The guy's tough as hell, or he'd still be on a soft food diet. I pumped him full of so many antibiotics that it should have killed his gut flora. Nope. Steak 2 days after. Just listening to the sound of her voice makes me happy. I have only fallen this hard once in my life, and this time, I'm not losing her. I'm going to love and protect Alana for the rest of our lives if she lets me. She bursts out laughing. No, I'm not kidding. Did him well too. Guy's a tank. Kind of reminds me of my dad, actually. A long pause. I can see enough of her profile to see her eyes widen, and her cheeks go that adorable shade of pink again. What? No. I mean, well, look, that's private. I fight down a grin, wondering how in the hell she's going to explain to her friend that she's in a relationship with 3 guys. Yeah, of course. If I do this, you'd better visit. I'll introduce you to all 3 of them. Then again, maybe she'll jump in with both feet. If there's one thing I know about Alana, it's that she's brave as hell. Listening to her gush about us to her friend, without breathing a word about our legal situation, makes me smile. She's thinking about staying. If Sebastian wants to worry about her taking off, he's welcome to the worry. Me, I'm not worrying. I'm hoping that she'll see a future with us, for good.
Chapter 17. Alana.
It's been 3 weeks since I came to the island, and the guys want me to stay. They officially asked me at the barbecue tonight. I said yes. We celebrated. Jake partied too hard for the amount of painkillers he's on, and had to turn in early. Sebastian talked to Daniel for a while, and then the 2 of them disappeared down the hill after telling me goodnight. Now, I'm lounging on my own in the new bikini I picked up in Barbados yesterday. It's a tiny teal string bikini, and it's clingy and brief enough to make the boys' eyes light up. I'm thinking about turning in early myself. Between the heat from the fire pit and the roasting heat of the humid night, I'm sweating and sleepy. The chicken and steak in my stomach aren't helping with my wakefulness. I cool off in the outdoor shower with the bikini still on, humming to myself. My eyes are closed as the cool water sluices over me. I finally open my eyes, only to see Daniel standing there watching me. I smile and turn off the spigot, then walk over to kiss him. "Hey," I say, and then stifle a yawn. "Ah. Sorry." "You okay?" he asks with a soft laugh. "Just sleepy. I've been more tired than usual lately. And hungrier. It's a bit weird. Island living, I guess," I say with a smile. "You're not planning to go straight to sleep, are you?" he asks with that gleam in his dark eyes. My eyebrows rise and I take his hand. We start walking over to my guest house. Nope. What a difference a little experience makes. We tumble onto my futon as soon as we close the door, giggling like a couple of teens. Shortly after, he collapses over me, panting in my ear. I hold him as he catches his breath, his big warm body weighing me down. I love having him there, imagining that his weight is the only thing keeping me from floating off the futon in sheer bliss. I hear him groan again softly, a sound of pure contentment. He wraps me in his arms and rolls us over, pulling the mosquito netting closed around us and letting me nestle into his chest. His heartbeat slows as I lie there. "You're staying," he murmurs sleepily a few minutes later as we drift off together. How did we get so lucky? In the morning, however, things are less than blissful. I wake up feeling weird, an excess of saliva in my mouth and an uncomfortable tickle in the back of my throat. I sit up and my stomach lurches. Oh shoot. I end up throwing up into my ice bucket, mostly bile. It's not anything from the barbecue. But by the time I stop retching, Daniel's awake and holding my sweaty hair out of my face. "Are you okay?" he asks worriedly. I don't know," I mutter. I'm still queasy as hell, and the smell of bile is threatening to make me yak all over again. Daniel takes the bucket away, as I hastily dress, and then helps me to the storeroom and the medical gear. My temperature's normal. Daniel's not sick, so it wasn't the food. I didn't drink much. So, what is this lingering nausea? The tiredness? The constant hunger, at least whenever I don't feel like I'm about to throw up. There's a possibility. But we've used protection each and every time. I can't be pregnant, can I? It took me half an hour to work up the nerve to take the test, which they thankfully had among all their supplies. After that, I sit on the storeroom toilet with Daniel hovering worriedly outside and stare at the test when the results come up. Positive. Damn, I mutter as I brace myself to tell Daniel. Things just got complicated. Since I'd already decided to stay, a baby may be happy news. But while all three of these men are my lovers, a child can only have one father. They've been able to avoid fighting over me. But what if they fight over the kid? Make that very complicated.
Chapter 18. Sebastian.
She's pregnant. One of us is the father. It's been haunting me all day, ever since Alana, who is also clearly worried about the whole thing, announced the results of her test. For almost a month now, I've been struggling to share the woman I love with two other men. This was my choice and my promise. I swore that I would share everything with them, and they with me. Even when she was with someone else first, and every night that I've wrestled with jealousy because she's with one of them, I have reminded myself of my promise. But you can't share being a father with two other men. One of us is the father. Not 3-1. Look, Alana tells me with some irritation as she sits in the kitchen, poking unenthusiastically at a fruit salad. I can't take a paternity test to find out who the father is. But why not? I demand. I know I'm being testy and pushy at the last person I should be frustrated with, but right now, I can't seem to help it. What are you thinking? We'll just raise the child together, and they'll never know who their real dad is. Her eyes widen in exasperation. Sebastian, I just found out I'm pregnant. I don't want to get rid of the baby, ever, which means my entire life just took a hard left on top of the fact that I agreed to leave my whole life as I knew it behind to stay here. If your focus is the kid's paternity, and on which one of you has the biggest claim to this baby instead of? Darling, I just want to know why there can't be a DNA test. I can't look at her right now. Deep down, my conscience is tugging at me. I know she's right and that I'm being dumb. But I still have to know if this child is mine. She rubs her temple, squinting painfully. You are felons. Your DNA is on file. Since I can't do the test on my own with the gear we have here, sending a test to a laboratory means that someone will notice that the 3 men I'm testing against are all escaped convicts. I am honestly not sure I can lie well enough to cover your butt if that happens. Sebastian, sweetie, why are you being like this? I can feel the rage building up inside of me, and I don't want to take it out on her. I stand up from the table instead. Going for a walk? I manage to growl out and see the pain and confusion in her eyes as I turn to leave. Sorry, sweetheart. I really should just go for a walk. But instead, I find myself stalking outside to the worksite between my cabin and Jake's, where we're going to build Alana's home. Daniel and Jake are finishing up pouring the concrete supports and laying down the foundation for her future home. I should be helping them. When they see me approaching, they smile at me, and Jake turns awkwardly on his crutch. Hey, you missed pouring the slab. Help us tap the bubbles out. Which one of you took the rubber off? I demand, before I even reach them. Jake blinks. Huh? Daniel looks up sharply. Both of them fix me with wary looks. What are you talking about? Daniel asks carefully. I stop a few feet from them and fold my arms. We swore that we would use protection, and that we'd talk about it before any of us decided to become dads. So which one of you slipped his raincoat, huh? Who got her pregnant? Jake shakes his head. Sebastian. One of the rubbers must have broken. All 3 of us have been with her on the regular for a month. It's not that big of a surprise that this happened. Baloney. I yell, my face getting hot. One of you broke the deal, and I want to know who. Hey, screw you, Sebastian. Daniel straightened and got in my face, the sheer rage in his expression surprising me. Nobody slipped off any rubbers. Nobody's putting one over on you, or shutting you out. So stop acting like a giant baby, and help us. My fist is in his face before I even realize I've swung. Daniel's head snaps back, and he tumbles backward, straight into the wet concrete. He hasn't even landed before Jake is in my face. He's yelling something at me, but I'm so pissed off that all I do is swing at him too. I'm thinking about how satisfying it will be to connect, when suddenly something that feels like a small truck hits me in the side of the head. I go down hard in the dirt and roll over to see Jake standing over me, fists clenched, 2 of his knuckles split on his right hand. Knock it off now, he demands. I snap. I finally found someone who loves me and wants to be with me despite my past, and not only do I have to share her with these 2, but one of them got her pregnant and is lying about it. Bellowing in rage, I lunge up to my feet and hit him with a low tackle, knocking us both into the concrete too. Concrete is as heavy wet as it is dry. It clings to you and it sucks you down. I roll off of Jake before he can hit me again, and sink backward into the mess. Panic hits. I flail with all 4 limbs like a turtle on its back, but I have no leverage. Daniel and Jake are swearing at me as they fight to get free. I swear back and smack the concrete trying to hit them. Daniel kicks me in the ribs, and Jake yells at us both. I curse and aim my feet in Daniel's direction, determined to get him back. What the hell is this now? Alana demands. All 3 of us look up. Guilt and embarrassment wash through me as I see her standing at the edge of the concrete pad with her arms folded. Sebastian lost his mind over the baby, Jake groans as he tries to use his crutch to lever himself out of the mess. And so your solution as a group was to punch each other, and then start wrestling in concrete. Are you all secretly 9-year-old boys? Geez, why the hell did I agree to stay with you? That's not entirely fair, Daniel splutters, wiping concrete out of his eyes. Sebastian attacked us both. She shakes her head, tears of disappointment in her eyes. You guys said that if you had jealousy issues, you would talk it out and handle it. No drama. This is not no drama. I look around as my blood cools, realizing just how bad this looks. The concrete slab has turned into flypaper for fools, and I'm the biggest one. I try to get out again. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure out which one of these jackasses slipped the rubber off on you. Shut up, Jake wallops me with his crutch. Nobody did that. You think either of us would do that to her without telling her? Stop it. I can't believe I trusted any of you. I knew this was too good to be true, Alana cries out as the three of us go back to trying our best to beat the hell out of each other. Fists beat the crutch, gobs of cement are flying again. I get it in my hair and in my eyes, one of which is swelling shut from Jake's punch to my head. We're all pretty damn exhausted by the time we stop fighting and get our bearings. We're all crusted with concrete, my legs are still stuck, and all of us are bleeding. The concrete pad looks like a sandbox where some very messy dogs went digging. Only then do I notice that Alana is gone. Damn it, Sebastian. Jake growls as he yanks himself free and then turns to help Daniel. Are you nuts or just stupid? Now you've driven her away. She's not going away, she just took a walk to cool off, I start, and then freeze as the sound of a boat motor interrupts me. Oh no. What was that? Daniel is looking at me like he wants to kill me. And under the circumstances, I can't blame him. Guys, calm down, Jake says, holding out his huge concrete-smeared hands. That's the yacht we took to Barbados. The only fuel in it is what was left over. She's going to run out, and we can head out and pick her up. And then what? Daniel growls, picking a clump of concrete out of his ear. Then we help calm her down and talk this out. Apologize. Jake gives me a dirty look, and I sigh through my nose and nod. What if she doesn't want to stay with us anymore? I worry aloud. Then we let her go. She is not our captive. Staying here has always been her choice. Daniel's eyes threaten to burn holes in me. Okay, guys. We gotta get changed and cleaned up before this hardens. Then we fuel up the speedboat and use the tracking system to find her. Thank God you installed that, Daniel. Jake rubs his palms on his jeans and gives me a dirty look. And as for you, Sebastian, you need to handle things better. If you've driven her away, I won't forgive you. We wash off in the outside shower, not wanting to clog the drain pipes with concrete. The whole time I'm torn between wanting to punch them and wanting to punch myself. Alana. I can't lose her over something this stupid. Please. We wash off as fast as we can, but my hair's still grayer and spikier than usual by the time I towel off and dress. I'm hurrying out of my cabin when I see Daniel standing there, white-faced, holding the radio. More problems, he says simply. When he explains why, I go red, but not from anger. Damn. Are you telling me that we plan to pour a concrete slab today, and none of us checked the damn weather report to see if it would have time to cure before the storms came back? I look between the two of them and shake my head. That's pretty much it, Daniel sighs. There's a storm coming. We've got a pirate problem in these waters, and Alana's about to run out of fuel in the middle of the Caribbean. I grit my teeth, furious with all of us. But mostly me, I started this. Then she's in danger. Yeah, and you put her there. Jake shoots a glare over his shoulder as he hobbles for the gate. Now let's get the speedboat fueled up and get after her.
Chapter 19. Alana.
I'm crying as I steer the yacht away from shore. Sobbing hysterically, actually, wishing to God that, for once in my life, my luck with men hadn't gone to shit. This isn't fair. I love all three of them. I was happy on the island. But the moment the tiniest thing went wrong, this happened. Granted, a surprise pregnancy isn't really the tiniest thing, but an all-out throwdown? There were more red flags back at that concrete pit than a Chinese military parade. I have to protect myself and this baby. I'm not usually one to run from a struggle or from danger. But damn it, the last thing I need the very day I find out I'm pregnant is to discover that my men are so jealous of each other that they're getting into prison-style brawls, hurting each other and wrecking things. I can't be part of that scene. Not today, not ever. So I left. And I absolutely hate that I had to. It feels like I'm leaving my heart behind. I'm not sure where I'm going as I steer the boat north. Miami, I guess. Home. Back to my tiny sterile apartment, my exhausting job, my handful of friends, and no one to love me but this baby on the way. I'm going to at least do right by you, kid. I don't know how I'll manage it alone. But I'm not bringing you up around guys who beat the hell out of each other whenever a problem arises. I'm a few miles out from the island when I suddenly notice the fuel gauge is entirely in the red. Oh damn, I think. Daniel told me once that they don't usually keep the boats fueled. Apparently, this one never got a refill after returning from Barbados. I wipe my eyes and look up at the sail rigging. If I can catch this brisk wind, I can at least make it to Guantanamo Bay. I'll have a hell of a lot of explaining to do to the military guys there. But I figure I can make something up that'll protect the guys from unwanted attention. As angry as I am at them, I will always love them, and I'll always care about their welfare. Determined to keep going, I get up and start setting the sails. It's slow going, and I'm sweating by the time I actually unfurl the mainsail and turn it into the wind. The air has gone leaden, so thick with moisture that the light almost looks green. The clouds have a greenish tinge too. Damn. I know what a green sky means. I have to get to land before the storm hits. For a moment, I think about sailing back to the island, riding out the storm, and giving the guys a last chance to work things out. It's not only tempting, it's logical. But I just can't deal with them right now. I'm about to set out when I see a speedboat headed toward me. It's hauling ass, and for a moment, I hope that it's the guys coming to apologize and admit what asses they were being. It's a chance I want to give them, or would if the memory of their brawl wasn't still fresh in my head. But even still, I feel my spirits lift as I see the boat. Until I realize it's coming from the wrong direction. Oh damn. I grab the binoculars from the gear bag next to the wheel and take a peek. Half a dozen skinny, angry, heavily armed Haitian men are piled into that small boat, all of their eyes fixed on the yacht like they're expecting it to be loaded with gold. But the only prize out here is me. I gulp at that thought, not wanting to think too hard about what they would do with such a prize, and determined to avoid that fate at all costs. Digging desperately in the bag, I come up with a flare gun and fire it into the air in case anyone other than pirates is in range. I reload it and take aim at their boat. If I can start a fire on deck, it will keep them occupied while I escape. I wait as they draw nearer and nearer. Some of them have noticed me, and are pointing and shouting at each other. I start to shake. I would rather throw myself over the side than let them put their hands on me. The boat continues speeding towards me. Suddenly, one of the pirates takes a step forward and aims his rifle at me. You. American tramp. Get your clothes off. The men all laugh. I fire the flare gun into their midst, and then duck into the below-deck stairwell as they dive in every direction. From the heavy splashes I hear, a few dove straight into the water. I hear the rifle go off, and the thuds and pings of its bullets biting into the deck. Then, suddenly, another shot rolls out. A single shot, heavy caliber. The firing stops abruptly, and then the men start shouting and swearing again all at once. A moment later, a familiar voice calls out angrily in Creole. It's Daniel. Then Sebastian calls out in English too. You heard the man. Drop your weapons and leave or we'll put holes in all of you. Jake adds his voice. Counting down from 5. 5, 4. Splashes. Frantic yelling from the pirates. Another shot, and then suddenly the pirates' boat motor kicks up and I hear them speed away. I collapse with relief, sitting on the stairs with my arms around my knees. My men came for me. They risked their necks to make sure I was safe. Tears fill my eyes, and this time they're not tears of despair. I hear a thud and the men talking. Alana. Daniel calls, panic evident in his voice. I close my eyes to my tears. I'm here, I call in a shaky voice. I'm not hurt. You got here in time. A moment later, he finds me and ducks down into the stairwell to pull me into his arms. The first thing out of his mouth is, "I'm sorry." I sob with relief and hug him back. I can't say all is forgiven, but they chased after me and saved me when no one else in the world would have done that for me. They have earned their second chance. This is my fault, Sebastian admits as we sail home, towing the speedboat behind us. Of all the things that could stir my jealousy, a kid wasn't even on my radar. I should have thought about it. It wasn't on my radar either, Jake admits. He's holding my hand in his. It still has a rough smear of dried concrete on its back. Mine either. Daniel looks back at me from his spot at the helm and offers a rueful smile. I never actually thought it would come up, not unless we wanted it to sometime down the road. Well, now it has, I sigh, lacing my fingers over my belly. This caught us all by surprise. And I'm willing to work this out with you guys, but you have to understand something, and I won't compromise on this. This kid? He might have one biological father, but he's gonna have 3 dads. I look over at Sebastian. Nobody gets cut out. And nobody ducks responsibility either. Genetics are nice. Establishing parentage for legal reasons is nice, but come on. You really think that a kid isn't gonna think he's hit the jackpot if he has 3 dads instead of 1? I would have settled for 1, Sebastian says wistfully. Well, baby, you've got a point there, Jake rumbles as he shifts in his seat. He's restless again. Being down one working leg has taken its toll. So what do we do now? I set my jaw as I watched the island get bigger as we approached. Home. Am I willing to fight for it? For this relationship, this new life? This unexpected baby? Hell yes. We go home, and instead of punching each other and going for a swim in cement, we work this out. And you guys never do this again. Every time you swing at one another, you're hitting someone I love. And I will not put up with it. I look around at them firmly. You got that? Absolutely, Jake nods. No problem, Daniel says, eyeing Sebastian, who sighs and sags a little. Yeah. Sorry about that, Sebastian says, looking in turn at Daniel and Jake. I look into his eyes, and I understand something of the desperation that drove his actions. Nobody likes feeling pushed aside, and he's told me how it was for him when he was a kid. Discarded by his father, forever chasing revenge afterward, driven by a wound that wouldn't heal. Polyamorous or not, maybe it just comes down to instinct. If I had a baby with someone else, what would I need him for? Except I need him either way. The big idiot. Fine then. So what do we do now? I ask, keeping my voice firm to let them know that the fight is in the past now. All we need to focus on is the future and how we're going to get through this together. Jake tosses his hair back over his shoulder and squints into the wind. Go home, get ready for the storm, and work this out. But first, I'm getting another shower. Hold on a second. Storm? Why were you guys laying concrete with rain coming? Jake's ears turn red, and he scratches the back of his neck, grunting and looking away. We were distracted. Very distracted, Sebastian picks up. You just told us that you would stay after all, and then we found out you were pregnant. Yeah, Daniel chimes in over his shoulder. I guess we got a little excited over making a permanent place for you, and forgot to check the weather reports. I laugh and shake my head. You guys are adorable. I turn my face toward home again, feeling my despair dwindle away. I'm not that worried about the storm bearing down on us. We'll weather it just fine, so long as we work together.
Chapter 20. Alana.
So wait just a second. You're marrying all three of them? In what country is that legal? 'Cause I want to move there. Rosa cuddles my daughter, currently an adorable purple bundle with a wizened newborn's face, against her chest and beams. She helped with the birth, and now she's bonded with Morena as her godmother. The birth wasn't easy, but we did all right. Morena's as healthy as Jake. Her little red face is starting to fill out after a few days of breastfeeding like crazy, and now and again she wiggles and kicks sleepily. It's a commitment ceremony. We'll handle the rest of the arrangements, inheritance for Morena and everything else like that, through a living trust. I take another swallow of juice and shrug. It's not what I thought I would be doing with my life, but I'm happy. Well, that part's important. So, who's the father, anyway? She still seems confused by the whole arrangement. I can't blame Rosa. I've had 9 months to get used to my new life and negotiate my complicated relationship with my 3 wonderful men. But sometimes, I still find myself slipping back into my old ways of thinking. Jake's probably the biological dad. Her eyes haven't turned yet, but I suspect they'll be green. But they're all going to raise her. She'll have 3 dads. That's amazing, Rosa declares, beaming. A few gurgles and a tiny fist emerge from the bundle. Oh hey, sweetie, are you awake again? Are you hungry? Thank God for understanding, friends like Rosa, I think as I take my baby with a sigh. Again? Wow, what a hungry girl you are. I unbutton my blouse dutifully. So, where are the guys this morning? She peers around, hopefully. Rosa likes her eye candy, and I have no problem with her looking. With Marcel and his family. The man's so excited you'd think it was his own wife that gave birth. And your men? Rosa raises her eyebrows. I look down at Morena as she latches on and nurses. It's been a long haul and a lot of work, but the payoff has definitely been worth it. Her dads are over the moon. All 3 of them. When I signed up for that singles cruise, I was looking for the man of my dreams. Of course, I'd had no luck. The man of my dreams wasn't on that cruise. As it turns out, the man of my dreams didn't exist at all, because there were 3. Yet I found them anyway. How did I get so lucky?
The end. Thank you for listening to The Dom Next Door. Please continue listening to a sneak peek for 3 on a Match by Michelle Love. 3 on a Match, Chapter 1. On the Run.
And how does the jury find Miss Gravage? My heart races as I look from one face to the next, noting that none of the men or women in the jury stand will meet my gaze. There is silence in the courtroom for only a brief moment, and then one man in the corner of the box rises, clearing his throat and looking at me with a stone-cold stare. Your Honor, the members of this jury have found Miss Gravage to be guilty of deliberate homicide, and we recommend she be punished to the fullest extent of the law. My heart races, and I return my gaze to the judge. He sits silently for a moment, then he smacks the gavel on his desk and lays down the punishment. Miss Gravage, you have been found guilty of the murder of Miss Amanda Hamilton and shall serve a sentence of life behind bars, without parole. Dismissed? He hits the desk again, and a police officer comes forward. I'm screaming and crying, proclaiming my innocence, but no one's listening to me. They drag me out of the courtroom in my orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, then push me into the back of a cop car. There are reporters everywhere, each one thrusting a microphone in my face. The next thing I know, I'm being shoved into a cold, dark jail cell. There is a metal cot without a blanket or a pillow, a toilet in the corner, and the entire thing is made out of dreary gray concrete. The bars slam closed behind me, and I fall to my knees, screaming as the sound of the guard's boots retreats into the darkness. I shoot up in bed, crying out and thrashing in my sheets. My chest is heaving, and I look around the cheap hotel room, awareness coming back to me in waves. I slowly remember where I am. I'm not in court. I'm not in jail. I've seen both during my teenage years, but never for anything as serious as murder. Why do I think I'm going to jail? Oh yeah. Amanda Hamilton. Amanda Hamilton was a girl I'd known for only a few days before my whole life went to hell. She was a member of a rival sorority, and was one of those people who felt the world owed her something. That I owed her something. I had to admit, she was a beautiful girl, but no more beautiful than me or countless other women. So after I'd set my sights on Jordan Stone, I wasn't going to just let her move on him without putting up a fight. Why should she get first dibs on a boy, just because she had seniority over me at the school? It was clear that he thought I was attractive, and we hit it off immediately. When he asked me out to several parties on campus, I knew that he felt something between us too. I'd even entertained thoughts that he might be the man I would lose my V-card to. He might have even been the man I would marry one day. In short, I was head over heels in love with him. But so was Amanda. I was so stupid, thinking that when she invited me to a party at her sorority, it was because she wanted to get to know me. She and her friends were all cut from the same cloth, and worse yet, none of them were very smart. When word spread that she had overdosed on whatever drug they had managed to get their hands on, I can't say that I was surprised. What did surprise me, however, was the rumor spreading around campus the next day that I'd had something to do with her overdose. Sure, I had no love for the girl, and she wasn't a fan of me either, but I wasn't a killer, and I never could be. I've never wanted anyone dead, not even my worst enemy. But I soon learned that rumors spread just as quickly in college as they do in high school, and once the nasty story took root, I was done for. I knew that the police were ruling the overdose an accident for the moment, but I didn't want to be around when they changed their mind. I had no doubt that they were going to get wind of the gossip that I'd had something to do with it, and once that happened, I was in deep. I already have a record. And that record shows illicit substances and incarceration in my past. It was only high school stupidity because I wanted to be one of the cool kids, but it almost cost me my scholarship to the University of California, San Diego. I learned my lesson, and I swore off illicit substances forever. I would never touch the stuff again, but here they are again, ruining my life once more. With a sigh, I throw the sheets off my body and swing my legs to the floor. I'm thinking more clearly now about what happened and about what I'm going to do. That is what I am doing. I'm on the run. I wasn't about to hang around and take the fall for that dummy's mistake, that's for damn sure. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to do when I get there, but I know I can't stay in California. I grab my purse and pull out my wallet, flipping through the little bit of cash I have left. I jumped on the first available flight out of the state, and now, a few days later, I'm sitting in the cheapest hotel in Chicago. It's a city I've been in before, but I don't remember it being so dreary. Sitting on the bed, I check my phone. I scroll through a variety of text messages from friends, wondering where I am, but naturally, I see nothing from either of my parents. Surely by now they would know that their daughter is allegedly missing, but neither of them care enough to reach out to me. I'm not going to answer any of the text messages anyway. It's just a matter of time before I ditch this phone. What I need is a way to make money, and fast. I don't know if I'm going to stay in Chicago, but by the looks of my wallet, this is going to be my home for a while. I pull up a job posting website on my phone and scroll through the postings, searching for anything that looks easy and as unofficial as possible. I don't want to go through a lengthy interview process. I can't. The last thing I want to do is draw more attention to myself than necessary. If I do, I'm cooked. A listing catches my eye. Looking for a new nanny ASAP. Unfortunately, I find myself once again looking for a nanny for my young son. He's a spirited boy who needs someone who understands him. I need a live-in to care for him around the clock, as my work keeps me out of the home. I need someone who is able to meet his needs. I've tried using agencies, but their nannies seem completely unable to do their jobs. I need someone capable. Please respond with an email about yourself. Include your name, phone number, and experience, and I will get back to you if I think you may be a good fit. Be thorough and follow the directions. Any applicants who do not will be discarded. Thank you. Kane Stockwell. I stare at the posting, my heart racing. It's only a few hours old, and it's absolutely perfect for me. I quickly send him an email, careful to describe myself in the best possible terms and to follow his directions. The only thing I change is my name. I might be Mercedes Gravage, but if he watches the news at all, then it won't be long before he knows who that is. My new name is Emily Rhodes. It's both common enough yet unique. He shouldn't question it. I don't have a lot of experience with children, but they're children. How hard can they be? Everyone has kids. And if everyone can do it, then anyone can do it, and I'm anyone. I set my phone aside, and I'm surprised when I get a text almost immediately. It's from a number I don't know, but the sender immediately identifies himself as Kane. Hello, and thank you for your application. I would like to conduct an interview with you as soon as possible. Can you come in today? My heart races as I stare at the text. This is too good to be true. I smile to myself as I quickly send him a reply. Thanks for getting back to me. I would love to meet you, just say when and where. I hit send and lay back on the bed with a smile. This is too perfect. This is the solution to my problems.
Chapter 2.
Mr. Stockwell, I imagine if you are on your phone, then it must be something pretty damn important. If you don't want to share it with the rest of the group, I'll thank you for staying off of it until this meeting is over. Mr. Triss put his fists on the table, leaning forward and fixing me with his no-nonsense glare. Annoyed, I set my phone down on the table and clasped my hands in front of me, elbows on the table. Apologies, gentlemen, but I have a young son at home and he needs care. My latest nanny bailed on me at the last second, and I've been scrambling to find another. That's all well and good, but we're trying to run a company here. If you want the money to pay that nanny, you need to be present here, and I don't just mean filling that chair. Give us the rundown on what you see for next quarter, Mr. Triss continued. I rise from my chair, masking my annoyance. I hate these meetings, and I hate dealing with my investors. I know it's not a good idea to hate those who fund business, but I despise how they act like this is their company, their idea. I started Star Enterprises, and I'm the sole owner. Their shares mean nothing, save for the fact that they get profit. Relieved that I've secured another babysitter so quickly, I walk over to the chart on the wall and start pointing out figures to the men at the table. As I give the presentation, I see my phone blinking. I've either received another text or missed a call, and I don't have the time to get to it right now. I can feel the aggravation creeping into the back of my mind, but one word to any of the shareholders about this, and it would be as good as throwing myself to the wolves. I'm in enough legal trouble already. I don't want to raise suspicion with them that there's anything wrong with the company. Finally, I finished the presentation and called an end to the meeting. As always, I look forward to seeing you all again, I lie as they start for the door. I shake hands warmly with each of the 6 men, keenly aware that each would just as soon stab me in the back than be at this meeting. When the last of them has finally left, I hurry over and grab my phone. I'm hoping it's the new nanny, confirming that she can come to the house later this afternoon. It's not. It's a missed call from Cheryl, my ex-wife. Rage builds in my chest as I raise the phone to my ear, and I cringe as I hear her voice. Kane, how nice of you to be avoiding my calls after all I've done for you. I'm getting sick and tired of your crap. You better get this straightened out, or there's going to be hell to pay. Of course, you know how you can make this all go away. Blake and I would be most interested in hearing how you pulled off a few of those big trades that you managed back in the day. Care to share? Ta. The automated voice signaled the end of my messages, and I nearly slammed my phone back down on the table. I was sick and tired of dealing with that woman, and I wanted her out of my life forever. When she and I had first met, it had been fireworks. I thought she was the most perfect woman on the planet, and I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. She hadn't been there from day one like Blake Harper, my business partner, but I'd wanted her there for every day thereafter. What an idiot I'd been for her. Back in college, I had managed to land a few major stock trades. I found out a way to get around the normal algorithm, and I had made billions off the deals. It had been Blake's idea to start the company, helping those who wanted to do the same. Of course, I never shared my real secrets with the public, which was why I was facing certain legal issues now. We promised that anyone in the world could make millions, and that just wasn't happening. And the customers were noticing. To add insult to injury, just as the legal bills started piling up, I caught Blake in bed with my wife. The two eventually got together, Cheryl leaving me and every part of the life we'd made together behind, including our son. My boy had been devastated when she left, but it had devastated me even more. Not only did I lose my wife and the mother of my child, but I'd also lost my business partner. Up until recently, she hadn't had any interest in seeing little Troy. I'd made promise after promise to him that he would see her soon, but she never showed. Eventually, I decided enough was enough and got full custody of him, at least for now. But only a couple of months ago, Cheryl started coming around again. My guess is she ran out of money and wants more. But that's not going to happen. I'm not going to give some tramp who abandoned her family an allowance. If she wants money, she can get a job. Or she can go crying to Blake. He seemed to be her knight in shining armor a year ago, so what the hell is he doing now? I sigh as I sit back down in my chair, more agitated than I was during the meeting. I light a cigarette and put it to my lips, taking a long drag before exhaling slowly. "Oh sir, it's you. I was about to tell whoever was in here that you don't like smoking in the building, but I'll take my leave." Missy Jarvis, my secretary, started to pull her head back out of the conference room, but I stopped her. "Come in here for a second, Missy," I ask. As she walks closer to my seat, I see her slightly cringe at the smell of the cigarette. "Yes, sir?" she asks meekly. She may be expecting more work dumped on her, but I don't want to take on anything else right now either. I have other things to do with my day. I'm going to be leaving early today, and I want you to make sure that the boys on the floor get through the list I put up this morning. They all got it in their emails, so make sure that they actually get through it. Any shithead who says he didn't receive gets to stay late until it's done, understood? I ask. She smiles and nods and then glances down at the files in her hands. "Did you have any more luck finding a nanny for Troy?" she asks. On the surface, it appears to be sincere, but I know there's more to it than a friendly inquiry. I know she wants to sleep with me. It's been written on her face since the day I hired her. Lately, she's taken a special interest in my son, and I get the impression it's because she's trying to get on my good side. As a matter of fact, that's why I'm leaving early. I have someone coming to the house in an hour, so I need to get going, I reply. I take another drag of the cigarette before stubbing it out on the table. I throw it in the garbage and nod over my shoulder. "Be a doll and wipe that up for me." "Yes, sir," she says as she steps forward to brush it into her hand. I don't bother to tell her that her hands are going to stink of cigarettes for the rest of the day. Perhaps that's what she wants. Perhaps it reminds her of me. I walk out of the room and avoid eye contact with the other employees as I stalk through the hall and step into the elevator. I've got to get back to my house. Without a nanny looking after things the past couple of days, I have to get a few things straightened up before this new girl arrives. And I need time to pick up Troy from daycare.
Chapter 3.
I open my eyes, and the sound of my alarm on the nightstand beside me wakes me up. It's the first time I've slept all the way through the night since going on the run, and I feel remarkably refreshed. Switching it off, I head to the bathroom, glad I gave myself some extra time to get ready before the kid would be getting up. I'm startled once more when I look at my reflection in the mirror. The long brunette hair that I've sported for most of my life has been replaced by a short blonde bob. Anything to help hide my identity, I would gladly do. I got it done the morning of my interview, so Mr. Stockwell has no idea what my natural color is. I couldn't believe how quickly he gave me the job. He hardly asked any questions and accepted the name Emily as though it was my real name. But then, of course, he thought it was. Why wouldn't he? After applying some light makeup and tying my hair back, I slip into jeans and a t-shirt. Mr. Stockwell instructed me to dress comfortably for my shifts, as I'll likely be spending most of my time chasing Troy around and doing some light cleaning. So far, 3 days in, things have been going very well, but I know I have to do a better job when it comes to talking to Kane. Kane Stockwell is by far the most gorgeous man I have ever seen in my life. He is tall, handsome, muscular, and has piercing blue eyes. I've only seen him dressed in his professional work suit, but I can clearly see the outlines of what lies underneath. I thought that I'd been attracted to that boy back in college, but I'm seeing now what a real man looks like. Not to mention, it's obvious that he truly loves his son. Everything in the house revolves around that kid. I don't mind it. My room is right across the hall from his son, and it's utter luxury. I vaguely remember a family trip to Vegas when I was small, and this mansion was even better than the 5-star hotel we'd stayed in. I hear the sound of the front door opening and closing, and I know Kane has left for work. Though I would have liked to see him, I have to admit, I'm grateful to start my morning without making a fool of myself. I don't know what I'm going to say to him the next time I see him, but I'm determined it's going to be something that sounds smart. I feel like an idiot every time I try to talk to him, and it's embarrassing. Miss Emily. Miss Emily, I'm hungry. Feed me. Troy's voice echoes through the hall, and I quickly finish adjusting my clothing. Wow, you're up early. I thought you were going to sleep in, you little monkey, I say with a smile as I walk out into the hall. I'm going to get your breakfast in just a second. Why don't you put some real clothes on? No. I want food now. I'm starving. Troy shoots back. I'm sure it's not all that bad. I'm going to get you some food, okay? I've just got to, I start, but the boy bursts into tears and collapses in the middle of the hallway. I'm starving. Feed me, he wails. The sound of his sobs is deafening, and I take a deep breath. I can already understand why so many nannies have given up on this job. If the pay wasn't so nice, I'd be happily cleaning hotels for cash under the table instead of this. Troy, we aren't going to act like this. I told you that I'm going to make you breakfast, but I want you to get dressed, I say in the calmest tone I can muster. I want to shove him right back into his bedroom and tell him to stop having a fit, but I know that's not going to get me anywhere. He's clearly used to getting his own way, and when that doesn't happen, he throws a fit. The boy has had no discipline in his life. No. I told you to get me food, and I mean get it now, he screams once more as he throws his bear at me. It connects with my face despite the fact that I tried to dodge it, and I cry out. Its hard little nose hit me right in the eye. I feel anger rising in my chest, and I know that I can't lose my temper, but I'm beginning to regard this kid as a little brat. He's in a heap on the floor sobbing, and I'm about to reprimand him for throwing toys when a voice startles me from behind. What's going on here? I whirl around. Kane is standing at the top of the staircase, staring at both of us with a blank face. I wish there was something in his expression to give away his thoughts about witnessing this scene, but he doesn't show a thing. I can't tell if he's angry, surprised, or simply used to this kind of behavior. He looks first at his son, then back at me, and it seems that as soon as Troy notices his father standing in the hall, he gets even louder. She won't feed me, Daddy. I asked her so nicely if she would make me breakfast, and she told me she was not going to. Troy sobs. My anger simmers a little hotter, but Kane and I have at least one thing in common. I'm good at hiding my emotions too. Nothing is going on. We've just gotten off to a bit of a rough start this morning, I say, ignoring Troy. She never makes me food when I ask. I get so hungry. Troy sobs once more. He picks himself up off the floor and theatrically lurches over to the wall. I hear him slump against his door, and I fight the urge to roll my eyes. I've seen some dramatic children in my life, but nothing quite this bad. Kane looks at his son once more, then back at me. There is a silence in the hallway now that is almost deafening, and everything inside me screams to explain the situation. But nothing comes to mind. I can't tell this father, right in front of his child, that the boy is being unreasonable. Troy is nearly 6 years old. He's plenty old enough to tell the truth, but he's also old enough to tell a lie. I'm not sure what his father thinks of any of this, and I wish he would say something that would clue me in. Kane merely gives a nod, turns and walks up the hall. He's heading for his bedroom, and I'm not sure what he's doing. I know better than to follow him or ask, so I turn around and give Troy a look. Though Troy is very young, I swear that I see a smirk on his face. I want nothing more than to put him on his bed and tell him he's taking a time out, but I don't dare. If he threw that big of a fit because he didn't get his breakfast right away, I can't imagine the scene he'd cause if I touched him. I decided that it was better to go make him breakfast and forget about the entire morning. After all, the last thing I want to do is make it look like I can't handle a child. I hear the sound of Kane's footsteps on the hardwood floor as I pour some cereal into a bowl, and take a deep breath. I'm prepared to hear him lecture me not to let that happen again. I'm sure he's not happy about coming home to such a fit, or about having to wonder whether his new nanny is even able to take care of his son. But he says nothing about the incident. As he walks through the kitchen, he gives me another nod without a smile. I hope you have a good day. You too. I call after him, a little more enthusiastically than I mean to. I stand with my eyes closed, kicking myself for being so awkward, and I hear the sound of the door opening and closing again. As the boy takes his seat at the kitchen table, I toss the food in front of him and say nothing. I don't care if I make friends with the kid or not. I'm not in the mood to cater to someone who is impossible to please. Besides, I'm his nanny, not his friend. If the boy needs to learn some lessons, then I'm supposed to be the one to do that. I walk to the window next to the back door and look out, watching as Kane's Jaguar pulls out of the drive and into the street, speeding off toward downtown. I sigh. I want so badly to make a good impression on him, and it couldn't have gone much worse that morning. I've got to get the hang of this. I've got to prove to him that I can do it. My life, or my safety at the very least, depends on it.
End of sneak peek for On the Run by Michelle Love. Thank you for listening to this preview of On the Run by Michelle Love. Please like and subscribe to support this channel. It helps more than you know.